Adele, the clan leader, delivers devastating news to Desmond while he's kneeling. Desmond is ordered to leave the clan forever, disbelief washing over him. Unable to process what he just heard, he desperately asks Adele for an explanation about his sudden expulsion. Desmond's simple question unleashes Adele's bottled-up fury. Adele blames him as the sole cause of failure in the last dungeon. He calls him a useless enchanter, leaving Desmond speechless. Desmond tries to defend himself, saying he did detect the danger but was ignored. Before he can finish, an object is thrown hard at his head. The blow wounds him, silencing his protest with pain. Adele, enraged, orders Desmond to take responsibility for his own mistakes. He grabs him violently, accusing him of trying to shift blame for his own incompetence. Using magic, he calls him ungrateful, reminding him of the favor of recruiting him, and his threat turns. Deadly just in time, a female figure steps in. She orders Adele to stop and calmly warns that this kind of behavior is unacceptable outside a dungeon. Adele's frustration is clear as Desmond looks to his savior, Marina. Ignoring the warning, Adele throws Desmond to the ground, insulting him one last time. Marina changes the subject, asking Desmond about his exploration method, revealing she's also a mage. He says his method was enhanced scent, a technique she instantly recognizes. Her face darkens as she accuses him of lying. Completely discrediting his skill, Desmond insists his magic is real. Asking Marina to stop making things up, he tries to explain his magic is special. Though it doesn't meet usual standards, Marina mocks his power, saying a competent enchanter should be way stronger. With an air of superiority, she reminds him the clan's reputation as supernovas is on the line. Sitting beside Adele, she declares coldly that there's no place on the team for a defeated dead weight. Desmond mutters that without his help, the clan would be in serious trouble. Adele steps closer, dismissing his warning, assuring there's nothing to worry about. A new warrior steps in, as Adele reveals he's already found Desmond's replacement. The warrior calls the new member while Desmond watches in disbelief from the ground. A confident, smiling rank B mage introduces herself as the clan's new enchanter. The new mage presents herself to the clan as Desmond watches from the floor. Completely humiliated, she beams with joy, saying how happy she is to join the famous sword clan. Adele places a hand on Desmond's shoulder. Looking down on him with contempt and superiority, the leader mocks him, pointing out that someone of higher rank arriving cancels out any complaints. Marina joins the mockery, confirming his dismissal with a cruel, satisfied smile. Even the warrior accuses him of having taken advantage of the clan's abilities for his own benefit, and the whole team looks at him with disdain, while Adele insults him once again with a resigned but firm look. Desmond accepts his fate and decides to leave as his former teammates head for the exit. They celebrate his departure and demand that he leave his belongings just before he leaves. His eyes open, revealing an intense blue glow hinting at a hidden power. His hidden power is revealed as Appraisal Eye, an ability to view statistics numerically. Reflects on how, without his enchantments, his own abilities, they wouldn't even allow him to enter a C-rank dungeon. A nostalgic memory invades him. Remembering the promise they made as rookies to reach the top together, betrayal hits him hard, regretting having believed they were true teammates. Leaving his old life behind, sitting alone, he wonders what he will do now, knowing that he cannot survive without a team. The wound of betrayal is too fresh, and the idea of joining another group is impossible for him. His meditation is interrupted by an adventurer who trips and falls heavily near him. The man is terrified when he sees a female magician, wondering about the presence of a catoblepus in the area. A towering B-rank magical beast emerges from the trees, confirming his worst fears. The D-rank adventurer panics as his fellow mage tries to calm him down without success. Confident, the mage reveals herself to be a B-rank and casts a strength-enhancing spell on her partner. However, the beast attacks immediately, throwing the warrior into the air before the astonished gaze of the mage. Now, the imposing catoblepus looms over the two adventurers paralyzed by fear. The creature opens its jaws, ready to devour them, while they can only watch in terror. A bitter memory crosses Desmond's mind, regretting that his former team never understood his true power. He recalls how people made fun of his magic for only increasing his stats by 20 points. Determined to act, Desmond raises his staff, which begins to glow with intense green energy. With a serious expression, he invokes his own strength-enhancing spell. The magical aura envelops the two adventurers, surprising them just as the beast is about to attack. The warrior, overcome with overwhelming power, prepares for impact with renewed determination. With renewed strength, he manages to deflect the beast's attack, stopping its advance in its tracks. The catoblepus backs away, growling in fury as it is repelled by prey it considers weak. Both adventurers look at each other in disbelief, unable to understand the origin of this sudden increase in power. The enraged beast ignores its original prey and charges straight at Desmond. Desmond casts another charm, allowing the warrior to move at incredible speed and wound the beast with a serious look. Desmond reveals that the power of his magic goes far beyond a simple 20-point boost. His true power doesn't add up, but rather multiplies stats by 20, a secret his former clan never knew. The warrior looks at his own hands, astonished by the feat he has just performed. Desmond sighs wearily as the adventurers celebrate their unlikely victory against a superior enemy. Desmond reflects on how he tried to explain his power to no avail, regretting that they never listened to him. While he is lost in his thoughts, the warrior he saved approaches to thank him. The white-haired mage also watches him, intrigued by the mysterious enchanter standing in the distance. She wonders if the man who saved him is the famous Desmond. Back in town, Desmond finds himself in front of a bulletin board filled with guild requests. With a sigh, he realizes that to continue exploring more dungeons, he needs new equipment. Accepting his new reality, he prepares himself for the difficult task of finding a new clan. The world is filled with ancient dungeons, ruins scattered everywhere waiting to be explored. Within these ruins are hidden ancient knowledge and treasures of incalculable value. This is how the world works. Adventurers risk their lives in search of fortune and advancement. Desmond knows that to explore more dungeons, it is essential to form a team. However, when he reviews his own statistics, he realizes that no one would want to recruit him. His enchanter class grants him almost 0 strength and surprisingly 0 intelligence points. This lack limits him to using only the most basic magic, an obstacle he has never been able to overcome. As he laments his situation, an armored figure stops right in front of him and a female voice asks him if he is honestly looking for a new clan to join. Desmond admits that he does, as he has just been expelled from his own school. The woman is outraged to hear this, criticizing her former team's blindness for not seeing her talent. Her unexpected defense leaves Desmond completely baffled and speechless. Looking up, he recognizes the famous adventurer Cynthia, the mage he saved. Cynthia greets him with a familiar smile, revealing that they have known each other for a long time. A flashback reveals they are childhood friends, and Desmond is surprised that it's been 3 years since they left their hometown. They both fondly recall their reunion, confirming their bond as childhood friends. Suddenly, Desmond's attention is drawn to a shiny badge Cynthia is carrying. With astonishment, he realizes it is an S-rank dog tag, the highest possible. He enthusiastically congratulates her, reminding her that very few adventurers in the world achieve that prestigious rank. The pyramid of ranks confirms that S rank is the pinnacle of power, reserved only for the elite. With a genuine smile, Desmond expresses how proud he is of her as his childhood friend. Desmond's compliment makes her blush, and she shyly admits that his words make her very happy. Cynthia's unexpected reaction takes Desmond by surprise, leaving him completely blushing and not knowing how to act. Desmond blushes at how beautiful Cynthia has become, remembering that she is 2 years older than him. Remember that the real reason he became an adventurer was to become someone worthy of being by her side. A memory from their childhood reveals a promise they made to each other, to conquer an S-rank dungeon together. However, Desmond assumes she's already forgotten that pact, feeling a little foolish for still holding on to it. Suddenly, both of their attentions are drawn to the walls as Cynthia mentions the name Espada. She explains that Espada is the famous rookie team everyone is talking about, those who have already overcome more B-rank girls. With a smile, Cynthia reveals that the success of that clan was only due to the fact that he was one of its members. His friend's statement leaves Desmond completely baffled, unable to understand what she is referring to. She insists that her charms were always the best, surprising Desmond, who believed her true power was a secret. He blushes, happy that she recognized his worth. Meanwhile, Cynthia suggests they team up now that she's free. With a visible blush, Cynthia formally asks Desmond to join her clan. He is surprised by the offer, and she excitedly explains that the entrance exam is the next day. With complete confidence, she approaches him and assures him that she has no doubt he will pass the test. The idea of an entrance exam resonates in Desmond's mind, and he seriously considers the proposal, although he doubts he can pass as a D-rank adventurer. The idea of joining Cynthia's clan motivates him. With a smile, he accepts the challenge, much to the surprise and joy of his friend. Cynthia's happiness is overwhelming, and she suggests they sign up immediately. Without giving him time to react, she takes him by the hand and drags him through the city. Even though he doesn't feel mentally prepared, her joy is contagious and makes him happy. Suddenly, her smile fades, and she nervously asks where they are going in such a hurry. Cynthia stops, a little embarrassed by Desmond's question. With an apology, he reveals that his clan name is Chevalier Garden. Desmond pales, for he knows that name much more than she imagines. Chevalier Garden is revealed to be the largest and most powerful clan in the entire city of Bristol. Not only that, it's the force with the most adventurers in the world, about to conquer an S-rank dungeon. Overwhelmed by the magnitude of the clan, Desmond tries to retract his decision. However, Cynthia holds him firmly by the hand, preventing him from escaping. She calls him by his childhood nickname. Des, to get his attention, approaches him and whispers that it's time to fulfill the promise they made as children. Her words and her closeness leave Desmond completely blushing and unable to react. The word promise echoes in Desmond's mind, leaving him breathless. A memory from her childhood confirms that Cynthia has not forgotten their pact to conquer an S-rank dungeon together. Desmond's heart races, completely flushed, knowing that she still values his promise. Suddenly, panic sets in as he realizes the magnitude of what he has just accepted. Despite her doubts, Cynthia drags him toward the clan's imposing fortress, convinced of her success. Finally, the day of the entrance exam arrives at the majestic Chevalier Garden venue. When you register, you are given the number 55 and told to wait for the test to begin. Nervously, Desmond accepts his contestant number, feeling completely out of place. Upon entering, he is amazed by the luxurious interior of the barracks, which resembles a real castle. He looks at the crowd of applicants, realizing that the competition to join the strongest clan is overwhelming. Holding up his number, Desmond reflects on how incredible it is that Cynthia belongs to such a prestigious clan. The test is revealed to involve forming teams of 4 to defeat 10 goblins in a D-rank dungeon. While he considers the test to be fairly basic, he wonders if Cynthia will be present at the scene. Suddenly, a voice announces the start of the event, capturing the attention of all the aspirants. Everyone looks up at an imposing figure standing on the upper balcony. A woman with glasses announces that they will receive a greeting from Cynthia MacDonald, the commander of the 1st Brigade. The rest of the contestants murmur excitedly, while Desmond can't believe what he just heard. His face twists into an expression of pure disbelief as he processes the news. The revelation leaves him completely stunned, unable to understand the situation. An org chart reveals that Cynthia isn't just a member, but the commander of the 1st Brigade, the clan's most elite unit, with only 5 people. The 1st Brigade is made up of 5 members, the strongest adventurers in the world, handpicked. Desmond can't take his eyes off Cynthia, standing tall on the balcony with a serious gaze and shining armor. She radiates the aura of a true commander, while the other hopefuls watch her in awe. Desmond stays blushing and totally confused. She addresses the crowd, thanking them for their interest and asking them to give their all in the test. Her inspiring speech fires up the candidates, who respond with cheers full of excitement and determination. Amid all the hype, Desmond freezes, unable to wrap his head around the new reality of his friend. His mind goes blank, trying to connect the childhood girl with the leader standing before him. After the speech, the adventurers start moving through the Great Hall, getting ready for the exam to begin. He hears other candidates talking about their admiration for Cynthia, dreaming of joining her prestigious brigade. Even though he's happy for her, Desmond feels her success is almost unreal. The huge gap between their worlds makes him feel alone, until a familiar voice snaps him out of his thoughts. Suddenly, Cynthia appears in front of him, hooded, thanking him for coming. Desmond panics when he recognizes her, unable to believe the commander is actually talking to him. Her sudden appearance leaves all the other candidates around them completely stunned. The crowd bursts into excited whispers as they confirm that the one and only Cynthia is among them. The others wonder who Desmond is, while she explains she couldn't help but come see him in person. To everyone's surprise, she steps closer and kisses him on the cheek, wishing him luck on the test. Totally red-faced and speechless, he barely manages to stammer a thank you as she walks away. Desmond stands frozen, processing that the commander of the most powerful clan came just to cheer him on. Filled with new determination, Desmond tightens his grip on his staff, ready to give it his all to join Cynthia's clan. He walks confidently toward the testing area. Suddenly, a blonde girl stops him with a shout, catching him completely off guard. She asks if he has number 55, while he's still confused by the sudden interruption. To his surprise, the girl shows him she also got the same participant number. Desmond realizes the truth. Fate has put them on the same team for the exam. The energetic swordswoman introduces herself as Rin, a frontline attacker ready for action. Just as Desmond is about to respond, another figure approaches, completing their team. An elf mage named Dorothy calmly introduces herself, revealing she also has number 55. Dorothy's incredibly soft voice leaves him speechless, barely able to reply. Suddenly, an imposing figure stands before them, interrupting the introductions. A sturdy dwarf introduces himself as Garen, the shield bearer and 4th member of Team 55. Overwhelmed by the situation, Desmond barely manages to stammer his own name. Rin enthusiastically welcomes him while Desmond asks to be called Des for short. The team is led to the entrance of a sinister skull-shaped dungeon. An examiner informs them that the fearsome skull dungeon will be the setting for their test. The mission is simple: defeat 10 goblins or retreat to end the exam. Desmond analyzes the situation, warning that even though they're rank D, they need to be cautious, completely ignoring the warning. Fearing their recklessness will put them in danger, he overhears other candidates whispering that his team has no chance of passing. Desmond realizes that although the team assignments are random, something's off. He discovers the terrible truth. Team 55 is known as the worst group in exam history. The news hits him hard, leaving him horrified by his bad luck. Seeing Rin excited over a mushroom only makes it worse. Desmond loses all hope of passing as they enter the dungeon. He wonders if he's cursed to always have terrible luck with his teammates. The imposing, fearsome skull dungeon looms before them, ready to test their disastrous team. It's revealed this dungeon used to be rank B, but was downgraded after its core was destroyed. Now, it's just a rank D place inhabited only by weak monsters like goblins. Desmond recalls his days in high-level dungeons where, despite success, he always got the worst share of loot. He wonders when his old teammates started treating him so badly. Thinking it over, he realizes he doesn't have a single good memory of his old clan. He looks at his eccentric teammates and wonders why they're called the worst team in history. A bit scared, he decides to approach them, hoping they're not as terrible as the rumors say. Out of nowhere, Rin knocks him down with a enthusiastic, and painful greeting that leaves him on the ground. She sits on top of him, mistaking his panicked face for hunger and worry, trying to cheer him up. Rin offers him her own snack as a special gift, bragging about how delicious it is. Even though Desmond hasn't even tasted it, resigned, he takes a bite of the bread, not knowing what else to do. To his surprise, the flavor is so good he's left speechless. Completely impressed, a bitter memory flashes of how his old team treated him like a servant, demanding things and calling him useless. In contrast, now he enjoys a bite while reflecting that with his old clan, he didn't even have time to eat. Dorothy shyly approaches to offer him water, while Garen also shows concern for his well-being. Moved by their unexpected kindness, Desmond thanks them with eyes full of emotion. A small smile forms on his face as he thinks maybe, after all, they're not as bad as the rumors said. Filled with new curiosity, he asks his teammates why they decided to take the exam. Rin answers enthusiastically, explaining she's the third daughter of a noble family from a rural area. She confesses her dream was always to be an adventurer, but her parents wanted her to marry. Now she's determined to become the best adventurer in the world to prove her dream wasn't wrong. Intrigued, Desmond asks Garen why he chose to be a shield bearer, and the dwarf replies with a simple truth about his protective role. Garen nobly declares he doesn't need a reason to protect others, leaving Desmond impressed by his integrity. Realizing his teammates are kind, Desmond turns to ask Dorothy about her motivations. She shyly explains she wants to pass the exam to repay the kindness of her adoptive parents from the prestigious Chevalier Garden. Desmond's compliment overwhelms her completely, and she hides, embarrassed, feeling she doesn't deserve it. A genuine smile appears on Desmond's face as he realizes the true nature of his teammates. He concludes that the nickname, the worst team, must be a mistake, since they're all kind and wonderful people. In a moment of self-criticism, he admits to himself that his reason for joining and impressing Cynthia is the least noble of all. Despite everything, he tightens his staff with renewed determination. Ready to face the challenge, the team gathers and Desmond encourages them to give their best, uniting the group with a common purpose full of confidence. He vows to pass the exam. For Cynthia, while Garan casually points out he has dirt on his shoulder, and Desmond thanks him. But the dwarf suddenly complains of pain without warning and collapses to the ground, completely still. Thinking it's a joke, Desmond laughs and tells him to stop exaggerating. However, the dwarf doesn't get up, and worry starts to grow in the team. Panic takes over as they see Garen unresponsive, wondering if it's a bad prank. Rin announces in terror that the dwarf isn't breathing, making Desmond panic and ask for a potion. Suddenly, a loud laugh echoes from the ground, revealing the prank. Garen gets up laughing, apologizing for the joke, while Rin reminds him they don't have many potions. Stunned, Desmond asks if collapsing like that happens often. The horrible truth hits him as he realizes his teammate has a very serious problem. To understand the situation, Desmond activates his valuation eye skill. He discovers Rin, the swordswoman, has such low strength she could barely beat a single goblin. Then he checks Garen, the tank, and sees his vitality is so ridiculously low that a single hit could take him out. Dorothy notices his horrified expression and asks worriedly if something's wrong. Hoping to find something good, Desmond focuses on the team's mage. Analyzing Dorothy, he sees her intelligence is high, allowing her to use powerful attack magic. He praises her, but she panics, saying using her magic would kill her. She confesses, embarrassed, that her mana pool is so small she can only cast one spell a day. The harsh reality hits him in a smile. His worst fears come true when he sees Dorothy's mana is just 8 points, an insignificant amount. Desmond finally understands the true and terrible meaning behind the nickname the worst team in history. His team consists of an attacker who can't beat a single enemy, a tank who falls with one hit, and a mage who can only use her power once a day. He bitterly concludes that with his basic magic, he's also one of the worst. He panics, thinking that if he doesn't strengthen them all, they won't just fail, they'll be wiped out. Just then, Rin detects the ominous presence of a horde of goblins. Desperate, Desmond orders them to stay put so he can cast his enchantments. But Rin ignores his warning and charges in, believing the first strike guarantees victory. She clashes swords with a goblin, starting the fight without any magical buffs. Rin's attack is useless, and the goblin easily knocks her down, confirming her ridiculous 6 strength points. Still on the ground, she pretends everything's under control, while Desmond laments her recklessness for attacking without magical support. A goblin, lone and taking advantage of the chaos, charges straight at Desmond, who desperately tries to cast a spell, alerted by a scream. His eyes lock on the danger coming at him. True to his word, Garen jumps in to protect him but is felled by the goblin's simple hit, exasperated. Desmond scolds the fallen dwarf, who lies on the ground with a dazed look. Forced to use a potion, he reproaches Garen for collapsing mid-battle. Questioning his protector role, Garen strikes a triumphant pose and reaffirms his conviction to protect others, leaving Desmond speechless, holding the empty bottle. But his moment of confidence is short-lived, as Garen collapses again, leaving Desmond completely crushed with a forced smile. Desmond realizes they're out of healing potions. Panic consumes him as he remembers they have no healer and that one more hit could be the end of everything. Rin steps between him and a goblin, pushing him aside to take the hit herself. Desmond's eyes widen in horror at his teammate's sacrifice. He kneels beside her, worried, while she downplays the hit despite the danger. He holds her back in frustration, reminding her role is to attack, not recklessly defend. She replies with a shy smile, admitting he's right. However, she firmly declares she can't stand by while her teammates get attacked. Her words leave him breathless, moved by her unexpected sense of duty. Still, he asks what would happen if her weak defense left her unable to fight. Desmond reminds her of her dream to become the best adventurer, but she seems doubtful. She reveals that above all, her teammates' safety is her top priority. Rin's words leave him breathless, deeply moved by her unexpected loyalty. The moment is interrupted when Dorothy panics, announcing 7 more goblins are coming. Garen steps forward, ordering the rest of the team to take cover behind him. Desmond shouts desperately, reminding him they have no potions left and that the next hit will be the last. The dwarf turns with a determined look, catching a worried Desmond's attention. Desmond's expression shows a mix of confusion and fear at the dwarf's attitude. Garen admits his own weakness but says he doesn't care if he falls as long as he protects his friends. With a grim smile, he says he's willing to be a human shield, no matter the cost. The dwarf's statement is cut off when Dorothy timidly reminds Desmond she can only cast 1 spell. Clutching his staff nervously, he knows her single attack won't be enough to take down 7 goblins, let alone the 10 they need to pass. Still, she offers to sacrifice her chance to pass to save them, but Desmond firmly refuses. He reminds her of her promise to pass the exam for her adoptive parents, trying to make her reconsider. Despite his words, Dorothy grips her staff tighter, showing her firm resolve. With a determined look, she says passing the exam and abandoning her teammates wouldn't make any sense. Her words hit Desmond hard, who watches her, moved by her unexpected loyalty. He can't understand why everyone's willing to sacrifice for a team they just met. His teammates' unbreakable camaraderie leaves him completely stunned and speechless. His teammates stare at him, united by the same unshakable conviction. Striking a heroic pose, they explain that time doesn't matter when forging true friendship. Their words hit Desmond deeply, leaving him breathless. He's totally overwhelmed with emotion, and a tear slips from his eye. The goblin horde charges in, but Rin looks oddly hyped for the fight. The dwarf braces for impact, his face twisted with pure effort. His teammates scream in alarm, seeing the dwarf about to get crushed. Garen takes the brutal hit from the horde, bracing for the worst. But a magical water barrier shields him, pushing back the surrounding goblins. The dwarf looks around in shock, clueless about where the power came from. The water barrier not only protects him, but forcefully repels the entire goblin horde. Garen wonders if his own defense pulled off this feat, but quickly shakes the thought. Realizing the power isn't his, the whole team turns to find Desmond glowing green, eyes closed. Desmond focuses, channeling his power with calm, unshakable serenity. When he opens his eyes, his gaze is sharp and determined like never before. He's made up his mind. The real prize is passing the test with his new crew. He knows this bond is something he never built with his old team in a whole year. Taking charge, he tells them to trust him and follow his orders to secure the win. Unleashing his power, he declares with full confidence they'll all pass the exam together. With renewed confidence, he promises that if they stick to his plan, everyone will pass. Together, they turn to a surprised Dorothy, and he seriously orders her to prepare her spell. She hesitates, reminding him she only has 1 attack and using it now risks failing. But the memory of Desmond's determined look, asking for trust, makes her rethink. Gripping her staff tight, Dorothy decides to go with the plan. The mage starts channeling her power while Desmond gets ready to give the next orders. He tells Rin and Garen to buy time so Dorothy can finish her enchantment. To Rin's surprise, Desmond assigns her to handle the enemies coming straight at them. She's stunned to realize she has to face the charging goblin horde all alone. Desmond looks at her with unbreakable seriousness, putting all his trust in her. Instead of doubting, a fierce, excited smile spreads across Rin's face. Thrilled to take on the challenge, she charges forward to intercept the horde. 2 goblins rush her, ready to smash her with their clubs. With a defiant glare, she warns them they won't take another step. Her sword flashes like a streak of light, sweeping through all the goblins in her path with one swift move. The warrior stops, genuinely surprised by the sheer power of her own attack. The goblins are pushed back and neutralized, unable to withstand the strike of the Chinese sword. She watches in awe as dust settles on the battlefield, amazed by what she just pulled off. She realizes Desmond's aura boosted her power, allowing her to achieve the impossible. It turns out Desmond used enchantment magic to amplify his teammates' strength. Meanwhile, more goblins approach from behind. Threatening to attack Garen, Desmond orders the dwarf to focus, solely on defending the team's rear, then uses his magic again. Boosting the dwarf's physical ability and vitality, Garen understands his mission: protect Dorothy at all costs while she prepares her spell empowered by Desmond. Garen raises his shield and halts the goblin's advance, gritting his teeth. Resisting with all his might the creature's relentless charge, Dorothy watches worried as Garen becomes an impenetrable wall to protect her. Her worry turns into cold determination seeing her teammates sacrifice. With new resolve, Dorothy unleashes her own power, ready to cast her one devastating spell. Desmond gives Dorothy a new order: pointing to a passage on the cave's right side. As she looks at the dark tunnel, he tells her he'll boost her magic. He asks her to cast her spell with full force at that entrance. Leaving her totally confused, Desmond activates his enchantment. Increasing the mage's mental strength and intelligence, Dorothy's water power is drastically enhanced. Boosting its power, precision, and durability, the mage is overwhelmed. Feeling like she can't control it, despite the panic, a rush of euphoria hits her from such amazing power. To help channel the energy, Desmond places his hand over hers on the staff. Coming up behind her, he calmly asks her to trust him to guide the spell. The closeness and overwhelming power leave Dorothy blushing and speechless. The mage tries to say something but is totally flustered by the moment. Together, they unleash a devastating, powered-up water blast toward the dark tunnel. Desmond calmly explains the plan: to wipe out enemies in the next room, revealing he used his enhanced smell to locate over 10 goblins there. The magical projectile flies through the passage, catching the goblins on the other side off guard. The creatures barely have time to react before the attack hits them from afar. The spell strikes with explosive force, ensuring they've defeated the required number of enemies. Satisfied, Desmond confirms they've successfully beaten enough goblins to pass. Both watch the tunnel, now lit up, revealing the aftermath of their attack. But a cold sweat runs down Desmond's forehead as he realizes a terrible mishap. Desmond realizes he overpowered Dorothy's spell, creating uncontrollable force. The unleashed power is so massive it completely destroys the exam cave. Suddenly, the team finds themselves outside, surrounded by the rubble of what was the dungeon. Garen, still floating from magic, apologizes for getting carried away by the excitement of new friends. Desmond panics, thinking they'll be disqualified for destroying the test area. Unexpectedly, one of the examiners shows up nervously telling them not to worry. To everyone's surprise, the man announces that despite the disaster, they confirm they're the fastest team to finish, leaving Desmond stunned. Despite the destruction, the examiner hands Desmond proof they passed the challenge, praising Desmond. Amazed that a depot-ranked adventurer wields such incredible magic. With the certificate in hand, Desmond breathes a sigh of relief. His teammates celebrate wildly behind him. Their next stop is the imposing fortress that serves as the Adventurers Guild headquarters. Once inside, they receive their membership cards, congratulating them for passing the test. A guild employee officially welcomes them to the Knight's Garden. Encouraging them to give their best, the group gathers to check out their new cards. Marking the start of their career as an official team, Rin bursts into a joyful celebration, infecting the group with her energy. Filled with gratitude, she throws herself at a totally caught-off-guard Desmond for a hug. Giving him all the credit for their success, her moment of joy is interrupted when they lock eyes with the team that had looked down on them. Before the exam, the atmosphere in the hall shifts drastically, filled with whispers as other adventurers watch them with suspicion. With a bead of sweat, Desmond senses the attention they're getting isn't admiration but something darker. The whispers confirm they're the team that passed the exam in record time. Disbelief spreads since everyone knew them as the worst team in the test. Rumors about Desmond's power get blown way out of proportion. But he doesn't seem bothered. Rin proudly tells him the whole team should be proud of their leader's fame. Playfully punching his chest, she urges him to own the recognition he deserves. Garen chimes in, confirming that Desmond's incredible enchantment magic was the key to their victory. Moved by the dwarf's words, Desmond sincerely thanks him, but the young enchanter tightens his staff, ready to deflect the praise with humility, explaining he's just a support player, and the success came from teamwork. He turns to his teammates, giving all the glory to the group's trust and effort. Rin looks at him, blushing and touched by his humble words, full of emotion. She drops an unexpected marriage proposal, leaving Desmond in shock. But the celebration abruptly stops with a sense of finality. Desmond reminds them their alliance was only temporary, and that they have to split up. The news saddens Dorothy. While Desmond avoids his teammates' gaze, Rin and Garen listen quietly, absorbing the idea that the team will break up. Dorothy tries to stay composed, explaining that now each must find a new team, but her facade cracks, unable to hide her true feelings about the separation. Moved, she declares she'll never forget this team, confessing it was the best she's ever been on. Rin interrupts the emotional farewell, showing her guild card and pointing out a crucial detail everyone missed. The rest of the team checks their cards, confirming Rin's surprising revelation. The guild registered them as an official team, binding their fates without them knowing. The tension of the goodbye fades, replaced by shared happiness knowing they won't part ways. With their team status official, the group presents themselves again, sealing their bond with renewed enthusiasm. Overflowing with joy, Rin immediately suggests a celebration to mark their union. Her idea of a victory party with drinks is instantly backed by Garen, spreading excitement to the rest. Desmond pauses, thinking about telling Cynthia, but sees his new team heading off excitedly and drops the idea, remembering his new rank forbids contacting a high-level examiner like her. The thought of never seeing her again hits him with an unexpected loneliness as they leave the guild behind. The team heads to the city center to kick off their well-deserved party. They arrive at a lively tavern, the perfect spot for their first official celebration. The place is packed with adventurers, but they quickly find a table to start the party. With a frothy beer mug raised high, they get ready for the toast sealing their victory. Everyone clinks mugs, celebrating not just passing the exam, but also their unexpected bond. Desmond looks at his teammates with a genuine smile, finally feeling part of something. Rin returns the look with a cheeky grin, enjoying the festive vibe and company. Even Garen and Dorsey, usually more serious, get caught up in the joy of the moment. Suddenly, a hooded figure joins their table with a cocky smile, holding up their own mug. The mysterious stranger's arrival interrupts the celebration, leaving Desmond and Rin totally thrown off. The team tries to politely explain to the intruder that they're in the middle of a private party. Desmond breaks into a cold sweat, recognizing a familiar face under the hood, unable to believe it. He confirms the mysterious figure is examiner Cynthia. The revelation leaves Dorothy and Rin speechless, unable to process the surprise. Even though Cynthia tries to deny it, the whole team recognizes her, causing a commotion at the table. Dorothy, shocked, asks Desmond about his casualness with such an important figure. The examiner looks at them sternly, clearly uncomfortable with the attention they're drawing. With a resigned sigh, she apologizes. "I just wanted to congratulate you in person." The young enchanter blushes, touched by the gesture from his childhood friend. Dorothy panics upon learning about their connection, hastily denying any misunderstanding. Cynthia clarifies Desmond passed on his own skill, no favoritism from their friendship. Dorothy, though surprised, quickly agrees, confirming they all recognize their leader's merit. Rin hugs Desmond from behind, happily declaring they're the ones who know his incredible power best. Rin's closeness and the cute nickname she uses spark jealousy in a totally flustered Cynthia. Dorothy tries to calm things down, asking the examiner to relax and drop the formalities. Despite Dorothy's words, Cynthia clings to Desmond's clothes, unable to hide her agitation. The examiner moves closer to Desmond, asking with a tense smile if Rin really knows him. Rin defends their bond, saying risking their lives together gives them an understanding no one else has. A fierce rivalry erupts between Cynthia and Rin, fighting for Desmond's overwhelmed attention. Meanwhile, Garen ignores the drama completely, focused only on bringing more food for the party. Garen, utensils in hand, smiles happily as the food arrives, oblivious to the tension outside the tavern. Garrett, fork in hand, smiles happily as the food arrives, oblivious to the tension outside the tavern. The night is calm, but inside the festive mood is completely ruined. The celebration halts as the rivalry between the two women heats up. Inside, Rin takes the lead and flirts by offering Desmond a bite, trying to catch his attention. Cynthia doesn't back down and offers Desmond a spoonful from her own plate, praising the taste. Caught between them, Desmond can only flash a nervous smile, sweating under the pressure. The young man freezes as Rin and Cynthia compete to be the first to feed him. The argument escalates into a debate over which food is better for him, ramping up Desmond's stress. Dorothy steps in, pointing out to the rivals that their behavior is overwhelming their leader. But her solution is to suggest milk for tiredness, a move that doesn't help at all. Garen breaks the tension by praising the pasta, while Desmond can only respond with a forced compliment. The young man tries to politely decline their offers, nervously smiling as he says he can eat on his own, but Rin and Cynthia corner him, demanding he choose one of them. The rivalry heats up with Cynthia arguing their childhood friendship and Rin her bond as a teammate. Desmond's innocent question about whether he should pick the food is terribly misunderstood by a blushing Rin. She takes his supposed boldness as a sign of interest, forcing Desmond to remind her they were just talking about food. The misunderstanding spreads to Cynthia, who also blushes at her friend's supposed audacity. The examiner blushes deeply, secretly wishing she were the object of his boldness. Fed up with the indecision, Cynthia slams her gauntlet on the table, declaring this can't go on. The two women decide to settle the dispute once and for all, while Desmond just wants to eat what he wants. Both women imagine themselves winning, each convinced their dish is best for Desmond. Meanwhile, Garen keeps on his personal feast, piling up a mountain of empty plates beside him. Rin, full of energy, orders even more food, determined not to give up on feeding her leader. Suddenly, Garen's tower of plates wobbles dangerously, threatening to crash down on the table. Desmond yells a warning, seeing the disaster about to happen. Rin and Cynthia look at Desmond, expecting him to step in and save them from the chaos. The falling food splashes all over Cynthia, ruining her moment and serious expression. Rin isn't spared either, covered in food, with a look of total disbelief. To their surprise, Desmond doesn't protect them, but dives to save Garen from the impact. The young leader tries to explain his choice with a nervous smile, facing the deadly stares of his two admirers. Desmond's excuse for saving Garen only makes the two food-covered women even angrier. Rin and Cynthia point at Garen as the real culprit of their misery. Suddenly, the rivalry shifts when Rin approaches Cynthia with a new proposal. The two women put aside their differences and decide to drown their sorrows in alcohol, forming an unexpected alliance. The celebration that started as a congrats for Desmond turns into a wild party. Rin, completely drunk, enjoys the moment with contagious joy and a flushed face. By the end of the night, a sober Garen carries an unconscious Rin while Dorothy tries to keep order. Meanwhile, Desmond walks with Cynthia, thanking her for joining his chaotic celebration. Dorothy reflects on the night, realizing it's the first time she's truly celebrated with her teammates. Desmond, with a genuine smile, admits he's happy and grateful for Cynthia's presence. Cynthia, slightly blushing, confesses she's glad she came to the celebration. She adds that she's happy to be in the same clan as him. Desmond laughs, reminding her their brigades are pretty far apart. With full confidence, Cynthia assures an embarrassed Desmond that he'll be in the first brigade soon. Though he thinks it's just a polite compliment, she looks at him seriously, confirming she means it. The examiner smiles and admits that, despite everything, she's glad they're her teammates. The scene shows a drunk Rin hugging Garrett, showing the kind of fun teammates they are. Desmond, nervously smiling, promises he'll make sure Rin behaves better with her superior. Cynthia admits that although the party with everyone was fun, she has something else in mind. With an intense look, she reveals her true desire to celebrate alone with him. Desmond is left speechless by her proposal, but Cynthia quickly backtracks, pretending she said nothing. With a radiant smile under the moon, she announces that starting tomorrow, she'll be counting on him. Immediately, embarrassment floods her, and blushing, she barely manages to say Desmond's name. The young man, also blushing, feels overwhelmed but flattered by his friend's confession. Desmond reciprocates, accepting that he counts on her too. As the night wraps around them, a new day begins in the city, marking the start of a new chapter. Their first stop is an alchemy shop, a key place for their preparations. Inside, the shop is packed with potions of every color. The collection impresses the team as Dorothy lists the essential supplies they need. From healing potions to antidotes, they prepare eagerly, determined to be ready for their first official mission as a team. Desmond interrupts the shopping with a sudden question about a logistical detail. The young man innocently asks if they should split the cost of supplies among themselves. Dorothy smiles and explains that the clan will cover all the expenses. Surprised, Desmond recalls with some bitterness his time in Espada, where he had to pay for everything himself. The clan's generosity motivates him, though he feels the weight of expectations on his shoulders. After a friendly shopping trip, the team leaves the shop loaded with potions and ready for action. Out on the street, Desmond can't help but think about his old teammate Adel and wonder what he's up to. Their mission takes them to Bristol's northern district, at the entrance of an ominous dungeon. It's the C-rank Greenbites dungeon, a huge pit that digs deep into the earth. Meanwhile, deep inside, a worn-out Adel seems to be fighting for his life. Adel's former teammate watches him with disbelief and worry, while their other teammate, the tank, sweats under pressure, unable to hold back the enemies. A horde of goblins surrounds them, way fiercer than they should be. Adel, covered in sweat and scratches, curses his helplessness in the situation. The young man wonders why his supposedly experienced team is getting overwhelmed so easily. He gets frustrated seeing they can't defeat what should be simple goblins. One creature leaps at him, ready to land a finishing blow. With a desperate effort, Adel blocks the attack with his sword, but the force overpowers him and sends him flying violently through the air. His teammates shout his name, watching in horror as their leader is defeated. The red-haired mage is cornered by the goblins, frozen with fear, desperately demanding the tank protect her, reminding him of his duty as the team's shield. Chaos erupts as the team argues, blaming each other for their lack of coordination. The mage reveals she can't use her magic, while Adel watches the fight from the ground, helpless and frustrated. Adel curses his situation and his team's incompetence. Taking control, the young man orders an immediate retreat using a teleport scroll. Safe outside the dungeon, the team lies on the ground, completely exhausted from the escape. Adel, furious, can't believe a team of their caliber was beaten by the weakest monsters. The young woman suggests maybe they're just feeling sick, though her look hints she suspects more. The healer addresses the team, questioning if the rumors about their strength were exaggerated. Adel explodes in anger, blaming the young woman for her magic buff failing in their defeat. The healer reacts with disbelief and anger at the leader's accusation, defending herself and firing back, pointing out the rest of the team's uselessness during the fight. She specifies the tank couldn't hold back the enemies, exposing his weakness. She continues, saying the mage barely used basic spells before going down. With disdain, she reminds Adel he was easily defeated by a simple goblin. The healer openly mocks him, calling it pathetic that the famous Espada team is so weak. Her words hit Adel's pride hard, making him grit his teeth with uncontrollable rage and lose control. Adel grabs her by the neck, threatening her and firing her from the team on the spot. The healer struggles to break free, barely asking him to stop. Consumed by anger, Adel ignores her completely, not letting go. With a quick move of her staff, the young woman strikes him and sends him flying. The team leader crashes violently to the ground, kicking up dirt and rocks, stunned and humiliated. Adel lifts his head, unable to believe he was taken down so easily. The other two team members watch the confrontation, frozen in surprise. The healer looks at him with a flirty smile, pretending not to get his anger. She mocks him, criticizing him for not even taking a defensive stance. With a superior look, she sums him up in one word: weak. The final humiliation makes Adel's rage explode, his eyes glowing with uncontrollable fury. The healer tells him she doesn't need to be fired, She quits first. Condescend declares she refuses to work with such a useless group and forbids them from ever looking for her again. The young woman walks away indifferently, leaving Adel humiliated and his teammates stunned. Adel grits his teeth, silently cursing the situation and his own helplessness. His frustration bursts out in a punch to the ground, his mind filled with thoughts about the enchanters. Overflowing with rage, he bitterly concludes that all enchanters are a pain in the ass. Meanwhile, the story returns to Desmond, standing in front of the imposing Night Clan headquarters. The young man's eyes shine with excitement, thinking he's about to start his first official mission. Filled with determination, he promises himself his first job with the clan will be a smashing success. The young man dreams of climbing the clan ranks, hoping to one day join the 1st Brigade. Like Cynthia, Desmond meets with his new team, the 5th Brigade, all ready for their first mission. The young man wonders what their task will be, while the elven mage guesses it'll be a simple dungeon exploration. The confident blonde swordswoman suggests finishing the mission quickly, but the mage warns her not to get cocky. Desmond smiles genuinely, happy and excited to work with his new lively team. With excitement running high, the group gets ready to enter the meeting room and receive their assignment. Suddenly, the scene shifts sharply, showing two men with grim, tense expressions elsewhere in the clan. A group of adventurers argue heatedly, faces full of anger and frustration. Back in the main hall, a crowd of clan members has gathered, creating chaos and disorder. Desmond and his teammates stand stunned, not understanding the sudden commotion taking over the place. The other adventurers whisper among themselves, and Desmond's team realizes something really weird is going on. It's happening in the clan. The swordswoman celebrates, thinking the whispers are admiration for her kill record. But another adventurer clarifies people are pointing fingers because she got in through connections. The revelation leaves Desmond and his team completely baffled. A group of clan members look at them with contempt, annoyed by the new team's supposed arrogance. Rumors spread, tagging Desmond as Cynthia's childhood friend. The elven mage isn't spared either. As people say, she also has a protector inside the clan. Envy turns to anger, and other adventurers openly accuse them of cheating and favoritism. The angry crowd surrounds Desmond's team, demanding they leave and calling them pathetic. Desmond tries to calm things down, denying the accusations and insisting it's all a misunderstanding. Suddenly, an authoritative voice from a higher balcony orders the crowd to stop. The crowd turns toward the balcony, surprised and annoyed. All clan members look up, silenced by the sudden intervention. Desmond and his team, still nervous, watch the figure who stopped the chaos. A scruffy-looking man steps up, announcing the arrival of the 5th Brigade. The team is stunned when they realize this man is Brant, their new captain. Desmond can't believe what he's seeing, refusing to accept this as their leader. To their horror, they see their captain completely wasted in the middle of the hall. The vice-captain tries to control Brant, who's dangerously wobbling on the railing. Despite his state, the captain pulls himself together enough to announce the day's mission. Their first task: explore the dangerous, freezing Imbral Ice Cave. Brant reveals the main goal is to retrieve the Wisdom Gem, a rare artifact deep inside the cave. The crowd murmurs in disbelief, knowing the gem is a rank B item. Too dangerous for them, an adventurer protests, reminding everyone the Ice Cave is a high-difficulty dungeon they can't take lightly. Another furious clan member demands an explanation while Desmond watches the scene with growing worry, analyzing the situation. Concluding that sending the 5th Brigade, made up of D-rank adventurers, into a B-rank dungeon is a death sentence. Panic takes over the adventurers as they imagine being wiped out by the first trap or monster they encounter. Despite his multiplication magic, Desmond doubts their chances and nervously looks at his captain. Brant, with a cryptic smile, tells them this is the clan's policy, and that they need to understand what it means to be a chevalier. His harsh words leave Desmond and the others completely confused, not knowing what he means. The imposing image of the clan's headquarters highlights the scale of the organization, making the captain's words hit even harder. Desmond and the other adventurers come to the grim conclusion that the clan sees them as disposable pieces. From the balcony, Captain Brant, totally unfazed, tells them to stop making such a fuss with a malicious grin. The captain prepares to pour more fuel on the fire. Brant coldly confirms their worst fears, admitting they're just replacements. The revelation unleashes the crowd's fury, who can't believe their leader's blatant confession. Desmond is left in shock, processing the reality of such a massive organization. The young man refuses to accept that the Cynthia clan he might belong to his whole life is so corrupt. Tension rises as the adventurers feel humiliated. Desmond can only hope things don't get any worse. Brant then reveals his plan, explaining they've gathered 6 teams from the 5th Brigade for a brute force mission. A chart details the strategy. Use the overwhelming number of 5th Brigade members as cannon fodder. The captain orders them to obey blindly the assigned lead team, treating them with absolute contempt. The humiliation is thick, and the adventurers barely hold back their anger at the treatment. Just when Desmond thinks he wouldn't want to be the leader here, the captain announces team number 55 will take command. The captain names Desmond's team, putting them in the spotlight and under all eyes. Immediately, the other team's stares lock onto them, full of resentment and envy. The decision only fuels suspicions of favoritism, and the crowd judges them harshly. From the balcony, Captain Brandt, oblivious to the tension, casually waves while sipping his drink. Suddenly, attention shifts to massive double doors about to open. Desmond, now leader of this suicide mission, forces a smile as panic grips him and his team. After a sudden scene change, the story moves away from the clan headquarters. The team arrives at the entrance of Mezbel's ice cave, a place as imposing as it is dangerous. Checking the details, they confirm they're facing a B-rank dungeon, a high-difficulty mission. Barely stepping inside, the temperature drops sharply. Living up to its icy name, the fully frozen floor reminds them how treacherous the terrain is. Desmond and the elven mage marvel at the dungeon's beauty, which seems to stretch before their eyes. They discover that despite its natural look, the cave is an artificial structure built by an ancient civilization. The swordswoman smiles slyly, reminding everyone to stay alert for any enemies. The young woman notices she doesn't feel cold, despite her breath steaming. To her companion's surprise, Desmond proudly reveals he cast a cold resistance spell on the whole team. Desmond's teammates are shocked to learn the spell will keep them warm and let them move freely. He confidently explains that although the spell is temporary, it'll last through the entire dungeon run. The swordswoman, impressed, touches Desmond's arm, praising his incredible magic skill. She clings to him jokingly, saying she wants him as her personal heater because she hates the cold so much. Desmond, a bit nervous, reminds her they can't let their guard down since one slip could cost their lives. Suddenly, another adventurer with spiked boots approaches them with a hostile look. Without warning, the man kicks Desmond in the back, making him stumble violently. Desmond falls face first onto the ice, while his companion screams his name in horror. The swordswoman spins around, furious, confronting the attacker and demanding an explanation for the assault. The frustrated adventurer accuses them of wasting time instead of taking the mission seriously. The attacker expresses disdain for teams he claims only advance thanks to connections. The swordswoman angrily denies the accusations, but the man won't back down. Desmond gets up with a kick mark on his back while the man accuses him of using influence to become leader. The crowd joins in, shouting they won't trust their lives to a team of frauds. As Desmond panics trying to calm things down, his companion looks visibly upset by the scandal. Fed up, the swordswoman boldly declares she'll show her true power, leaving Desmond stunned by her defiant confidence. She challenges everyone to test her skills firsthand. The attacker glares at her with intense fury, tacitly accepting the challenge. The man prepares for a fight as his teammates cheer him on and Desmond shrinks back in fear. The crowd parts, creating an impromptu arena, shouting to kick Desmond's team out. Desmond tries to reason with the mob, begging them to cooperate and remember their allies. The angry crowd ignores him, yelling at him with overflowing hatred. With a defiant smile, the swordswoman steps forward, determined to settle this her way. Suddenly, Desmond panics, sensing something's terribly wrong with his enchantment. Things spiral out of control as the attackers mock the team's loyalty while surrounding them. Without warning, a man punches Desmond in the face, accusing him of using influence. With a bruised face, the young man denies the claims, insisting they did nothing wrong. His defense is useless as he takes a brutal kick while they shout that all guilty people say the same. Several adventurers jump on him, pinning him to the ground to keep attacking. The swordswoman finally intervenes, fiercely blocking a blow to protect her leader. Furious, she yells at the attacker that he messed with the wrong team. Without hesitation, she delivers a devastating kick straight to his face. The man barely flinches, taking the hit with superhuman toughness that leaves her stunned. To her surprise, the kick doesn't hurt him, and she realizes her opponent is incredibly tough. Impressed by his resilience, she smiles, acknowledging he's no ordinary rival. Far from calming down, the crowd gets even angrier, convinced they're weak and only advance by favoritism. Suddenly, the ground freezes and one adventurer's feet get trapped in magical ice, immobilizing her by force. The elven mage is also cornered and captured by other adventurers amid the chaos. A firm step echoes on the ice, signaling the arrival of someone about to change the fight's course. Desmond realizes the enchantment he cast is about to cause a disaster. The other adventurers also sense the imminent danger and stop dead in their tracks. Alarmed, with his hand on the ice, the young man understands his own magic has interacted with the dungeon. Despite the strange situation, the attacker prepares to keep going after. Desmond, the bespectacled young woman, screams desperately, trying to warn everyone about the looming threat. Amid the chaos, the crowd ignores her pleas and keeps Desmond's team pinned down. The attackers, acting superior, demand the team surrender to spare their lives. The elven mage, struggling, notices something strange happening with the cave floor. She horrifies to discover the frozen ground is actually a deadly trap about to activate. The swordswoman and her teammates confirm the commotion triggered the trap. The attackers are stunned, not understanding the warning about the trap they just heard. Suddenly, the ice floor cracks beneath their feet, signaling disaster is near. The floor collapses completely, sending all the adventurers into a free fall down an icy abyss. Panic spreads across their faces as they fall uncontrollably into the unknown. The swordswoman and her companions slide down an ice slope, desperately fighting not to fall. The elven mage and those holding her also lose balance, unable to accept the terrible reality. Chaos erupts as everyone plunges into the void, screaming in terror because the ground vanished. From Desmond's perspective, the bottom is covered with sharp ice spikes, a deadly trap. With faces full of pure terror, everyone sees their fatal fate approaching as they fall straight toward the lethal ice points. The sharp ice spikes glisten, promising a brutal end for all who fall. From the edge, the few survivors watch their comrades fall helplessly. The scene is bleak. Almost all adventurers have perished in the deadly trap. The survivors look on in horror, realizing they just witnessed total annihilation. Desmond's team, who also avoided the fall, watches the massacre in disbelief. Just before impact, a hand wrapped in a green aura miraculously stops the fall. Everyone present, both in the abyss and at the edges, is stunned by the unexpected event. Desmond and his main attacker look down, confused by the strange magic that intervened. The elven mage and the dwarf also don't understand what's happening. Watching in amazement, wrapped in a protective light, the falling adventurers realize with relief they've been saved. One adventurer notices not only is he unharmed, but the ice spikes shattered on contact with him. All the fallen adventurers cheer wildly upon, discovering they're safe inside the deadly trap. Desmond's main attacker, though relieved, can't hide his confusion at the miraculous rescue. His expression shifts to suspicion as his gaze fixes on the source of their salvation. In the distance, he spots Desmond lying on the icy ground, his staff glowing with a bright green aura. The young mage is clearly exhausted and injured, but he's the source of the power that saved them all. The attacker and his companion are speechless, unable to believe the boy they attacked rescued them. The rest of the saved adventurers also look up, slowly processing the incredible truth. With one last effort, Desmond leans on his staff. The strain of the spell shows on his face, revealing he managed to cast a body enchantment on everyone just in time, but warns its effect is temporary. He warns them, the spell won't last and they need to escape before more traps appear. The attacker, now a leader, orders everyone to use a rope to get out of the abyss immediately. The stunned adventurers at the bottom start organizing the rescue. Once safe at the edge, the man confirms everyone escaped the trap. A firm step on the ice marks the end of the dangerous climb for one survivor. His teammates rush to help Desmond, who collapses from magical exhaustion. The attacker and his companion realize Desmond was casting the spell while they attacked him. A flashback shows the young mage was the first to detect the deadly trap. They understand that despite the blows, his only goal was to save them all. The attacker looks at Desmond in a new light, realizing his intention was always to protect them. The other adventurers watch the scene, slowly grasping the weight of their terrible mistake. Guilt and regret show on the faces of those who attacked him before. The leader of the attackers looks at him with a mix of shame and newfound resolve. He remembers the young man's words, who considered them comrades even during the attack. With a determined expression, the man makes a decision to make things right as a peace gesture. He offers Desmond potions to help him recover. Meanwhile, the swordswoman apologizes to her team for wasting resources, blaming herself for not listening to Desmond's warnings from the start. Desmond looks at her with understanding, holding no grudge over what happened. Suddenly, all the adventurers rush over, offering them items as compensation. Desmond is surprised by the overwhelming amount of recovery items they offer. The leader of the attackers formally apologizes, admitting he got carried away by the situation. With a new look of respect, he asks Desmond to help them on the mission as comrades. Desmond's team watches in shock at the sudden change of attitude as he accepts the alliance. Even the other attackers apologize with a familiarity that makes the young mage a bit uncomfortable. In the distance, the rest of the adventurers celebrate the new camaraderie born from the disaster. A mysterious woman watches the scene from afar with an intrigued smile. She recognizes the group and, seeing their potential, decides she wants to recruit one of them. But ahead lies a new, massive frozen chasm, way more intimidating than the last one. The now united adventurers doubt they can clear a B-rank dungeon, second-guessing their next move. Desmond thinks it over, realizing just how dangerous this dungeon really is. The former attacker suggests a simple plan: avoid enemies and traps to survive. Desmond reveals his master plan: destroy the dungeon's core. He explains that if they destroy the core, the dungeon will weaken, and only weak monsters will appear. The leader of the attackers wonders if they'll have to search the whole dungeon for the core. Desmond dismisses that idea as inefficient and warns it would turn into a race. He reveals they're not the only group exploring the dungeon, which complicates things. The man worries because other groups might steal their treasure or destroy the core first. With a determined look, Desmond proposes a bold solution: split into teams. He lays out the plan. His team goes straight to the core, while the others hunt treasure and watch the perimeter. Their goal is clear: get the wisdom gem as fast as possible. Desmond assures that with his multiplication enchantment, their small team will be enough. He figures the large number of adventurers was summoned on purpose to split them up, following the clan leader's plan. But the other adventurers reveal a harsh truth: they think they're just disposable pawns. Desmond refuses to believe the Cynthia clan, the Knight's Garden, is that ruthless with its members. Despite doubts, all the adventurers rally with renewed energy, ready to give it their all. Desmond keeps a serious expression, processing the tough situation, while his partner encourages him from behind. Even their former attackers now shout with determination, fully committed to the new strategy. Suddenly, a magical snowflake appears on the icy corridor ceiling, catching their attention. The symbol seems to guide them down the ice corridor toward a mysterious door at the end. The magical snowflake floats in the air, pointing the way they should go. Desmond, now team leader, prepares to guide his group through the dungeon. He warns his partner about a dangerous path, suggesting a safer alternative route. He reminds everyone to stay alert for traps and lurking enemies. Garand, the dwarf, starts chatting with a thoughtful Desmond. Garand expresses relief that they've settled their differences with the other adventurers. Desmond smiles in agreement and, happy about the new alliance, recalls the tough times when their group was hated and falsely accused of cheating. However, now he realizes their new comrades are way kinder than he expected. Surrounded by friends, Desmond understands true happiness lies in camaraderie. Desmond insists their plan can't fail, or the consequences will be disastrous. He pictures the terrible fate awaiting them if they don't destroy the core, all groups wiped out one by one. Taking responsibility, he apologizes for making such a risky call and asks his teammates to trust him. His face shows deep resolve as he admits his biggest wish is to avoid losing his comrades. Moved by his honesty, the swordswoman bursts out laughing joyfully, accepting the plan without hesitation. Playfully, she teases his shyness, strengthening the team's bond. Unexpectedly, a purple-haired woman interrupts, hinting at the importance of their mission. Surprised, Desmond and his partner turn to face the speaker. The purple-haired woman reveals herself as the leader of another team and suggests joining forces. Completely thrown off, Desmond doesn't recognize the new group while his old attacker watches them warily. The purple-haired woman introduces herself and her teammates as Team 24. With a flirty smile, she says her name is Meryl. One teammate, a tough-looking man, introduces himself as Gant. The next member, a cocky young guy, says his name is Mercenary. And the last, a shy boy with hair covering his eyes, introduces himself as Jean. Confused by the offer, Desmond asks her to clarify her intentions, and she answers firmly. Meryl argues it'd be safer for everyone if their groups moved together through the dangerous dungeon. She also admits she was blown away by Desmond's amazing enchantment magic, leaving her stunned. Very directly, Meryl steps forward and hugs a blushing Desmond. Confessing she's taken a big interest in him, she bluntly suggests Desmond leave his current team and join hers, sparking outrage from his teammates. The swordswoman explodes in anger, accusing Meryl of trying to steal their most valuable member. Meryl ignores her, keeping a cold, calculating gaze, determined to get what she wants. The former attacker finally understands why Desmond's team was so despised despite their obvious power. She whispers to a dizzy Desmond that his power is the only reason their weak team has survived. The swordswoman fumes at being called weak, while their teammates worry about Desmond's situation. With a manipulative smile, Meryl suggests that if they really care about him, they should let him join a stronger team. Meryl's words hit the team hard, leaving them speechless and visibly shaken by her cruel logic. The elven mage clenches her fist tightly, holding back her rage at Meryl's insolent proposal. Regaining his composure, Desmond tries to refute Meryl, insisting their team isn't what she thinks. With a determined look, Desmond prepares to defend his comrades' honor and unity. The swordswoman yells at Meryl, saying she won't let her act all high and mighty or take Desmond away. Meryl belittles her, claiming that even though they're the same rank, their power levels are worlds apart. Desmond and his teammate are dumbfounded by the insult, jokingly wondering what kind of trash she's talking about. Gant, Meryl's teammate, explains to a confused Desmond that their leader is insanely stubborn when she sets her mind to something. Desmond's teammates joke about his sudden popularity, while he still has no clue what's going on. The argument heats up as Meryl and the swordswoman clash, trading insults about their looks. Exhausted by the fight, Desmond mentally checks out, reflecting on how complicated friendship can be. Both women corner him, demanding he decide immediately which team he'll join. Overwhelmed, Desmond tries to hide behind an ice pillar with a forced smile. He tries to calm things down, explaining it's not about choosing between them. Suddenly, a deafening crash interrupts the argument as the ice around them cracks. Alerted, the three look up, wondering where the mysterious sound came from. On impulse, the swordswoman runs toward the noise while a terrified Desmond warns her of the danger. Without hesitation, her teammates follow, leaving Desmond and the other team behind. Meryl uses the distraction to grab Desmond, stopping him from chasing after his team. With an intense look, Meryl presses her point, questioning his loyalty to a weaker team. Desmond watches her silently, processing her words with an unreadable expression. Finally, Desmond breaks the silence and challenges her logic. To Meryl and Gant's surprise, he smiles confidently and reveals their so-called weakness is actually their greatest strength. Desmond's answer leaves Meryl totally baffled, unable to grasp his reasoning. He realizes his logic has left her completely stunned. The former attacker finally understands the Garden's cruel policy. Low-ranked teams are just disposable pawns. Suddenly, A panicked voice calls Desmond, warning him of a new problem approaching. Taking charge, Desmond announces that both teams will handle destroying the core. The two groups enter an icy corridor, gearing up for the dangerous task ahead. As they move forward, a strange distortion in the air hints that something weird is happening. The temperature drops sharply, freezing even the potions they carry, surprising everyone. Panic erupts when a potion freezes and shatters, showing just how deadly the cold is. The swordswoman yells at Desmond to come over, pointing out a shocking discovery. Up ahead, sharp, threatening silhouettes emerge from the fog, confirming an imminent danger. The ice twists and shapes itself, forming a monstrous frost figure. From it rises a colossal torso adorned with pure ice crystals. The creature fully reveals itself. A towering ice golem with one glowing eye. Desmond's team freezes in terror as they recognize the beast as the dungeon's ice golem. Meryl and Gant realize it's not just any monster, but the dungeon's final boss. To make things worse, an ice wolf appears, growling defiantly at the colossus. The golem's eye locks onto its target with cold, relentless focus, ignoring the adventurers. The golem gathers its power, and glowing with icy light, unleashes a devastating strike, crushing the ice wolf mercilessly. The smaller creature is wiped out instantly, showing the boss's overwhelming power. Both teams turn pale, pure terror on their faces after witnessing the golem's strength. The group watches silently, feeling tiny in the face of the power they just saw. Panic grips the team, and they consider retreating until the swordswoman spots a crucial detail. She points out the dungeon core is right behind the monster, their ultimate goal. The revelation hits them hard. To win, they have to face the beast guarding the core, a seemingly impossible task. Still, the swordswoman tries to boost her teammates' morale with unexpected confidence. With a smile, she says that with Desmond's enchantments, could they take down the boss in one hit? Feeling the pressure, Desmond activates his evaluation skill, his eye glowing bright blue. His gaze locks on the ice golem, analyzing every stat to find a weakness. The evaluation leaves him stunned, revealing the monster's overwhelming stats, especially its insanely high vitality. Calmly, Desmond admits that while his magic multiplies stats, it has a crucial limit. The harsh reality hits the group like an icy blow. His teammates ask if his magic is enough, but Desmond confirms their worst fears. Regretfully, he explains their base stats are too low, leaving the team embarrassed and speechless. Despair takes hold as they realize the mission might be a total failure. Still, Desmond refuses to give up. His expression shifts to fierce determination as he proposes a new plan. They don't need to defeat the golem, just survive its attacks. His strategy is to use his magic to boost everyone's vitality, turning them into a defensive wall. That way, they can ignore the boss's attacks and focus solely on destroying the core. In his mind, he pictures the swordswoman Rin, empowered by his magic, effortlessly smashing the golem's crystals. Gant recalls the enchantment that saved them from falling, admitting it was impressive. But he doubts that same magic can withstand the boss's devastating attacks. Desmond tries to calm his nervous teammates, but the tension is thick. Smiling, he assures them he's checked their stats and defense is their strong point. Suddenly, Desmond's expression changes as he notices something unexpected in the distance. Rin has moved ahead of the group, waiting impatiently for the signal. Without warning, Rin charges the attack, demanding Desmond cast his buff spell. The rest of the team panics. Meryl yells at Rin not to rush before the spell's ready, sweating nervously but acknowledging Desmond's magic power. Meryl can't understand Rin's blind faith, charging in despite the deadly risk. Rin lunges at the golem, determined to land the first hit. The monster's eye narrows, locking onto the tiny figure, daring to challenge it. Panic spreads through the group as the golem targets Rin, demanding Desmond cast the spell. With intense focus, Desmond prepares to unleash his buff magic. But at the last second, his expression shows something's wrong. Confusion hits him as his buff magic simply won't respond. He discovers the cause. The extreme cold has completely frozen the tip of his staff. A muffled scream escapes him as he realizes his staff, his only power source, is useless. In an instant, he recalls the potion incident and realizes his staff must have accidentally touched a wall. Despair floods him as he confirms that without a working staff, he can't cast the spell at all. Meryl and Gant are stunned hearing Desmond's terrible news. Meanwhile, the golem's eye glows fiercely, preparing to strike. The ice beast unleashes a barrage of sharp icicles at the defenseless Rin. Terror shows on the swordswoman's face as death closes in. Rin is completely surrounded by the icy attack, no way out. Despite the fear, she grits her teeth, bracing for the inevitable hit. Her teammates watch in horror, sure she can't dodge the deadly blow. At the last second, the other team's fighter lunges and pushes Rin out of the way. The savior demands a stunned Rin to get up. But the danger's not over. The golem's eye cracks with fury, locking its yellow gaze on the two adventurers. The enraged golem unleashes another barrage, trapping both warriors in chaos. Their teammates shout helplessly, telling them to run for their lives. Both stand up, facing the monster together as it prepares to strike again. The ice beast charges power, its crystal body glowing with a threatening light. Rin notices with surprise that her savior wasn't unscathed. A sharp ice shard is stuck deep in her leg armor. The fighter admits her mistake, realizing the wound left her vulnerable. Unexpectedly, Rin grabs her firmly, refusing to leave her behind. With new determination, Rin helps the injured fighter stay on her feet. Even though they insist she run, Rin refuses to abandon the one who just saved her life. Rin warns her partner that if she gives up, they'll both fall to the next attack. Just in time, a huge ice wall rises out of nowhere, blocking the deadly barrage. Both warriors turn, stunned, seeing the protective shield that saved them. They find out it was Gant, the dwarf from the other team, who conjured the wall to protect them. With a stern look, Gant orders them to retreat, warning he can't help again. But the effort leaves him completely drained, and he collapses to the ground. To the girl's surprise, the fighter panics seeing another attack coming while their savior is down. Terror grips the group as they brace for another wave of golem attacks. Suddenly, a burst of fire intercepts the ice projectiles, melting them midair. Rin and the fighter watch confused as fire magic appears inside the frozen cave. Rin spins around, surprised. They discover it was Meryl who cast the fire spell. The elven mage admits she's drained all her mana and can't cast more. Panic spreads through the other team, who now must survive and rescue more comrades. Desmond, desperate, tries to give orders, but chaos and indecision freeze him completely. His hand trembles over his useless staff as his mind keeps repeating the same unanswered question. Guilt consumes him as he accepts the whole disaster is his fault. He bitterly recalls his arrogance, thinking his plan and buff magic were foolproof. A tear slips from his eye, knowing his mistake might cost everyone their lives. The cruel words of former teammates echo in his mind, calling him useless and reminding him of past failures. Completely broken, Desmond surrenders to despair, convinced he can't save them. Lost in self-pity, he believes he's just dead weight for the team. Meanwhile, the rest of the group is frozen by panic, unsure whether to run or fight. Even Rin, stuck on the front lines, smiles resignedly, accepting this is the end. Suddenly, a hand grabs Desmond by the neck, yanking him out of his misery. It's the warrior from his team, confronting him with fury, fed up with his defeatist attitude. His face burning with anger, the warrior yells that Desmond is useless. Desmond shudders, shocked by the harsh scolding. The warrior accuses him of only knowing how to apologize and assume everyone despises him. The harsh truths leave Desmond speechless, tears welling up. Finally, the warrior calls him out as the only one doing nothing, hinting he's even been drinking. The warrior defends himself fiercely, saying the bottle is a tool for the mission. To his stunned, Desmond pours the liquid over his frozen staff, trying to thaw it. He watches in total disbelief, unable to understand his teammate's strange tactic. The warrior reveals his plan. Alcohol doesn't freeze and can melt ice. It turns out the warrior Seneri knows alcohol's antifreeze properties. Seneri admits alcohol alone has limited effect, like warm water, but combined with his body heat it frees the staff. To Desmond's amazed eyes, despair turns to awe as his staff is freed and shining. Meanwhile, the ice wall protecting them starts cracking dangerously. The barrier crumbles and a new hail of ice shards heads toward the adventurers. The group panics, fully exposed to the incoming ice storm. Seneri smiles resignedly, accepting they can't dodge attacks forever. The warrior demands he save them, but he jokes he'd rather be the one rescued. Meanwhile, the ice golem prepares its final attack, confirming their worst fears. The beast unleashes an overwhelming surge of power, sealing the adventurers' fate. With helpless looks, the group braces for the final blow. Suddenly, a green aura surrounds them, leaving them unharmed and totally confused. Katrin stares at the magical shield in awe, unable to believe they survived. They discover the protective barrier comes from Desmond, now standing with his staff in hand. Desmond announces his comeback, revealing he used his physical buff magic to protect everyone. Despite his heroic act, the cave's cold has slightly frozen his nose. His teammates, now shielded by his magic, cheer with renewed hope and relief. The orb on his staff glows with powerful green light, source of his incredible magic. The mage stands tall with fresh confidence, ready to prove his true worth as leader. His gaze is sharp and determined, ready to face the enemy without hesitation. Even the monstrous golem seems surprised, its crystal eye reflecting the protective barrier. He grips his staff tightly, preparing to lead his team in a decisive assault. Empowered by his magic, the whole team gets ready to charge into battle under his command. The mage slams his staff on the ground, unleashing a wave of energy across the battlefield. With a shout full of conviction, he signals the start of the final assault on the golem. Desmond's magic boosts the warrior's vitality and strength, who feels power surge through her body. The rest of the fighters get a mana recovery boost, gearing up for action. Even the elven mage feels her mental strength amplified, surprised by the spell's reach. Desmond himself benefits, instantly healing the freeze on his nose. Despite the buffs, the ice golem doesn't stop and fires another volley of sharp crystals. Thanks to Desmond's power, the team dodges the projectiles with superhuman agility. The purple-haired warrior mocks the monster while effortlessly evading attacks. Trin also weaves through the crystals with a smile, finding the challenge surprisingly easy. Desmond breaks the hype to remind them not to face the dungeon boss head-on. He points out their real target, the dungeon's core glowing brightly behind the ice colossus. Desmond slams his staff down, declaring victory lies in destroying the core. Rin, powered up, accepts the new strategy without hesitation. With a fierce smile, the warrior charges forward, determined to land the finishing blow. But the ice golem reacts instantly, intercepting her bold move. The elven mage shouts a desperate warning, seeing her teammate in imminent danger. Rin realizes too late the monster anticipated her move. She barely manages to deflect the golem's attack, knocked back by the force. The mage rushes to her side to check she's okay as Rin recovers from the scare. Saneri and the other warrior watch the failed offense, ready to try again. The warrior reminds them to keep their eyes on the main goal, the dungeon's glowing core. The dungeon core starts sinking into the ice, threatening to disappear. Desmond frustrates as he realizes the golem's trying to hide its weak spot. If the core sinks completely, they'll lose their only chance to win. Saneri and Desmond panic, unsure how to react to this new monster tactic. But a look of determination crosses Desmond's face as he comes up with a new plan. The mage proposes a bold distraction tactic to catch the enemy off guard. The plan is for the team to draw the boss's attention while one of them destroys the core. Rin volunteers for the final assault, confident she's the fastest in the group. With the core about to vanish, the team prepares for their one last shot. Driven by urgency, everyone launches their full power to execute the plan. The team splits up to bait the golem, drawing its attention with gestures and shouts. The ice beast falls for the trap, turning its massive body toward the decoys. Saneri and the dwarf warrior keep taunting to keep the monster focused on them. Completely enraged, the golem fixes its single eye on the provoking adventurers, seeing the perfect chance. Desmond gives Rin the signal to start her assault with a steely look. Rin focuses, ready to carry out her part of the plan. Taking advantage of the distraction, the warrior speeds past the Colossus. Senri watches with bated breath, desperately hoping the plan works. The rest of the team watches anxiously, putting all their faith in Rin's speed. Meanwhile, the golem unleashes a devastating attack on the decoys, who barely dodge. Desmond watches intensely, knowing everyone's life depends on this one strike. The whole team puts their trust in Rin, smiling with surety of victory. Rin leaps from the air, swinging her sword with all her might at the crystal core. Her face shows total focus, channeling all her energy into the decisive strike. With a battle cry, she lands a devastating blow on the golem's weak spot. The sword hits the core, causing an explosion of light and energy at the impact. A triumphant smile lights her face, convinced she destroyed the target. But her expression instantly changes as she realizes something went wrong. To her surprise, the core remains intact, protected by an invisible barrier that repelled her attack. The rest of the team watches in disbelief and panic as their last desperate plan fails. They realize the golem not only attacks but consciously defends its core. A cold sweat runs down Desmond as he grasps the terrible intelligence of their foe. Despair fills his eyes as he realizes they're completely trapped. Their only chance fades as the crystal core sinks into the ice. One last flash emits from the target just before it's about to disappear forever. Panic takes over the group. Seeing their only path to victory slipping away, Desmond sheds a tear of helplessness, accepting defeat is near. But a furious shout from the blonde warrior breaks the silence of despair. The unexpected rally pulls Desmond out of his slump. Looking ahead again, the warrior demands they don't give up, inspiring courage with her unbreakable spirit. Seneri, the archer, tightens his bow with renewed determination, ready to act. His teammates look at him surprised while Desmond blushes, impressed by his boldness. Without hesitation, the archer leaps into the air, preparing a mid-flight shot, shouting that if one fails, there's always a replacement to keep fighting. The archer's words hit Desmond, who watches with a mix of awe and confusion. A painful memory of a man with the same cruel philosophy flashes through the mage's mind. Seneri channels all his energy into a single arrow, proudly declaring his role in the team. The power-infused arrow flies at breakneck speed toward the sinking core. The golem's eye widens as it detects the threat. At the last moment, the projectile hits with explosive force, shattering the ice around the target. The team fears the golem will raise its barrier again, blocking the arrow. But Seneri fiercely refuses to let his plan fail. The elven mage casts a fireball to intercept the golem's defense. The fire spell clears the way, letting the arrow fly unobstructed. The arrow pierces the last energy barrier, heading straight for the exposed core. Desmond watches in awe as his teammates coordinate flawlessly. The blonde warrior is also stunned by the unexpected counterattack. The rest of the group looks on in disbelief, unable to believe what they're seeing. The crystal core finally cracks and shatters into 1,000 pieces. With pure relief, Desmond confirms they've finally won. The core explodes as Seneri smirks confidently, and the elven mage looks shocked. The rest of the team can't believe what just happened. Faces full of amazement, even Rin, who missed her attack, is wide-eyed at the unexpected success. The ice golem starts to crumble. Its crystal body cracks completely. The ice colossus collapses with a thunderous crash, leaving the adventurers stunned. A sudden wave of freezing cold wraps the team, making them shiver violently. The ice on the ground begins to shift and reshape in a strange way. From the frozen floor, a structure emerges, showing the threat isn't over yet. The ice structure opens, revealing a secret passage leading deeper down. With the golem defeated, the team now faces a new, mysterious path. Desmond watches in awe as everything around him freezes solid. Ahead, a colossal monster lies motionless, trapped inside a block of ice. The mage recalls his theory. Destroying the dungeon's core would neutralize its inhabitants. The elven mage and warrior listen, waiting for his conclusion. With a determined gesture, Desmond prepares to announce the mission's outcome. The team erupts in cheers, celebrating their risky operation's total success. His teammates congratulate Desmond, recognizing his incredible leadership in battle. The blonde warrior hugs him excitedly, but he modestly deflects the praise. Desmond smiles, insisting the victory was thanks to everyone's effort. The group stares at the frozen monster, its chest glowing with the dungeon's core. Desmond's team is speechless as they identify the shining object in the monster's chest. Mercenary and the blonde warrior can't believe the treasure they were after. It was there the whole time. The purple-haired woman smirks with superiority. While her team celebrates completing the mission, she moves quickly and decisively. A hand snatches the wisdom gem from its place. Desmond's team watches helplessly. As the other group grabs the valuable treasure, the purple-haired woman brings the gem to her lips, savoring her victory with a triumphant look. With the gem in hand, she makes an offer to Desmond. Join her team if he wants to get the treasure back. Her teammates react with surprise. At her insistence on recruiting the mage, she smiles confidently. Declaring her desire to have Desmond on her team is stronger than ever. One rival defends Desmond, saying the treasure was a team effort. The rival leader ignores her as Desmond shyly asks to see the gem. She flat out refuses, saying the gem is her leverage. With a provocative attitude, the woman challenges Desmond to make a decision. The mage, visibly irritated, loses patience with her arrogance. In an unexpected move, Desmond attacks, demanding she give back the gem. The purple-haired woman is shocked, taking a hit she didn't see coming. One of her teammates blushes, stunned by Desmond's sudden show of strength. Another rival team member freezes, shocked by the unexpected attack. The elven mage and the rest of Desmond's team watch in disbelief at his drastic action. Rin and the archer are also stunned by their leader's bold move. Out of nowhere, a silver-haired man appears and attacks Desmond and the rival leader. The newcomer's gaze is cold and ruthless, with a dangerous glint. In the chaos, no one understands what just happened on the battlefield. The mysterious man lunges at Desmond with overwhelming speed and strength. Desmond can't react in time and takes the surprise hit. Desmond's team watches in horror as their leader falls defeated. The elven mage and blonde warrior scream desperately at the unknown attacker. Unable to believe the betrayal, the enraged archer demands an explanation from his teammate, revealing the attacker is Jean. Jean, now holding the gem, calmly declares he's completely sane. Jean reveals his only goal from the start was to seize the gem. With disdain, he explains he tried to get it peacefully. But the rival leader refused to cooperate. The archer, incredulous, reminds him of their friendship. Unable to process the betrayal, Jean mocks the idea of friendship, clarifying he was just using them. The archer recalls, talks about groups that steal treasures, realizing the terrible truth. Surrounded by a sinister aura, Jean reveals his ties to the criminal organization, the Black Underarm. The elven mage and warrior react in horror upon hearing the infamous group's name. With a wicked laugh, the traitor confirms his infiltration was only half the plan to reach his goal. Anger and betrayal flood the archer, gritting his teeth in fury. Without hesitation, the archer draws his bow and fires an arrow straight at his former teammate. Shin reacts, annoyed, barely flinching at the attack, deflecting the arrow effortlessly with his sword, calling the attempt useless. The traitor mocks the archer, saying he already knows perfectly his limited power level. Jin belittles the rest of the team, calling them weak rank D adventurers without their leader. He arrogantly reveals. The archer grits his teeth, realizing the overwhelming skill gap between them. The warrior and elven mage watch, frozen by helplessness and rage. Jin announces that now his true identity is out, he no longer has to hold back. Meanwhile, Desmond and the rival leader lie unconscious and badly injured on the ground. With a sinister smile and eyes glowing with malice, Jin declares his intent to kill them all. Jin charges, determined to wipe out all witnesses to his betrayal. Meanwhile, Desmond lies completely unconscious and vulnerable. The archer curses his powerlessness, knowing they don't stand a chance against Jin. Desperate, he yells at his teammates to run if they want to survive. The archer prepares to carry Desmond, urging the others to escape fast, but Jin blocks their path, ready to finish them off before they move. With a cruel smile, the traitor warns he won't let anyone get away. Jin strikes a deadly blow at the archer, who braces for the inevitable hit. Suddenly, a flash of light blocks Jin's sword. To the archer's surprise, the rival leader has gotten up and, despite her wounds, stopped the attack. The archer sees death in front of his eyes, frozen with terror, but the rival leader steps in, taking Jin's sword blow to protect him. Jin reacts with disbelief and annoyance, seeing his attack thwarted again. Despite the pain, the man stands firm, determined not to give in to the traitor. The elven mage and the rest of the team can't believe their former rival is defending them. The blonde warrior watches with a mix of amazement and a new spark of hope. Jin realizes his attacks aren't landing, as if an invisible barrier is pushing them away. The traitor grows frustrated. Unable to figure out where such strong defense comes from, everyone suddenly turns to see Desmond, who they thought was unconscious, standing up though weak. Desmond is the source of the mysterious protection, becoming the team's last hope. Jean realizes Desmond must have activated his staff or cast a spell the moment he fell. The rival leader mocks Jean, pointing out the traitor's huge miscalculation. With a malicious grin, Jean admits he hesitated to kill Desmond, thinking he might be useful. Filled with rage, the traitor regrets not finishing off the team leader from the start. Both teams watch the tense standoff, shocked by the unexpected twist. But Jin downplays the setback, saying he already got what he wanted. The traitor decides to retreat for now and starts fleeing down an icy passage. Before leaving, he mocks them, calling them fools easily manipulated by their dependence on each other. Jean's cruel words about the convenience of allies echo, enraging Desmond. Desmond clenches his fist, bitterly reflecting on betrayal and the true meaning of camaraderie. He feels completely defeated, regretting that his plan failed and the gem was stolen. Suddenly, an unexpected voice calls Jean the real idiot, grabbing everyone's attention. The elven mage and the rival dwarf warrior also turn, surprised by the interruption. On the ground, the rival leader, thought unconscious, starts moving despite her wounds. With a defiant look, the woman weakly stands, warning Jean not to underestimate her. She scolds his arrogance, pointing out he was so uninterested he didn't even remember her adventurer class. Desmond and his team watch in shock as the woman reminds Jean of the info he ignored. Revealing her true class as a thief, she shows the gem she recovered, refusing to hand over the treasure. Jean's expression turns to pure disbelief as he realizes he's been tricked and robbed of his prize. Desmond's team is left speechless, unable to process the incredible turn of events. The rival leader and blonde warrior watch the reveal with jaws dropped. Jin stops fleeing, turns around in disbelief, unable to process when he was outsmarted. With a victorious smile, the thief savors the moment, enjoying the traitor's humiliation. But the effort is too much for her wounded body, and she collapses before her teammates' eyes. Her leader desperately orders her to be tended to, while Jean uses the distraction to keep escaping. From a distance, Jean shows a twisted smile, a mix of amusement and bitter frustration. Desmond's team is baffled to see the rival leader also letting out a relieved, triumphant laugh. Jean angrily admits he completely underestimated the adventurers he thought were trash. With a hateful glare, he acknowledges his current defeat but promises deadly revenge next time. His overwhelming murderous intent fills the hallway, making everyone shudder in fear before he disappears. Jean plants doubt, warning his organization is everywhere. The echo of his threat rings through the now empty hallway as the traitor vanishes completely. Back at the dungeon entrance, the adventurers look dazed, processing what happened. The rival leader approaches Desmond as both teams work together to evacuate their wounded. The mission is officially declared over as the injured are prepped for transport. A close-up shows the unconscious state of the thief and her leader, the day's unexpected heroes. Desmond and his team watch silently, as their former rivals retreat with their teammates despite the betrayal. Desmond's team stays united, considering the mission a success. Desmond holds the recovered gem, understanding the true value of unity and camaraderie. With new determination, he accepts that his position also makes him a target for future enemies. Back at the imposing headquarters, the teams begin recovering from the exhausting mission. The blonde warrior greets the dwarf with renewed energy, showing she's almost healed. Her teammates ask about her condition, but she downplays her injuries. The warrior thanks Desmond for his protection and asks where he is now. The elven mage explains the commander has summoned Desmond for a mission report. The team looks worried. So, Desmond's been lost in thought ever since the betrayal. The scene shifts to the commander's office door, where the next move will be decided. The commander greets Desmond with a smile, congratulating him on a job well done. The commander leans back in his chair and says naming his team leader was the right call. Desmond, looking grim, barely reacts and just thanks him for the compliment. The commander, holding a bottle, takes on a carefree, festive vibe, trying to cheer Desmond up, insisting he should be celebrating his team's big win. But Desmond can't celebrate, remembering the high cost of success and that it wasn't just about his power. The commander, noticing his worry, asks if he means the two injured adventurers, reassures Desmond not to worry, admitting that though their wounds are serious, they'll recover. The scene moves to the treatment room where the mission's heroes are being cared for, confirms that even the rival leader, despite severe injuries, will fully heal thanks to advanced medicine. The same goes for the thief, who's resting while doctors work to restore her health. Despite the reassurances, Desmond blames himself, convinced his lack of strength caused others suffering. The commander tells Desmond he did more than enough, reminding him of a previous conversation. He reveals the real mission was for Desmond to learn what true camaraderie and determination mean. With his head down, Desmond admits that now that he gets it, he's actually really scared. His face fills with anguish thinking about the chance his precious friends could get hurt again. The commander laughs understandingly at Desmond's honesty, while his assistant watches quietly. After a bow, Desmond leaves the office, leaving the commander and his assistant alone. The young leader walks the hall alone, weighed down by the burden of his new responsibilities. The commander's assistant voices concern, thinking the leader role might be too much for him. The The commander, deep in thought, figures Desmond's never had real comrades, so he takes all the blame. His assistant absorbs the commander's words, understanding the young man's emotional struggle. The commander thinks that even though Desmond's close to breaking, this is a crucial test for him. In a funny twist, the assistant snatches the commander's liquor bottle, who complains helplessly. Meanwhile, Desmond suddenly stops in the hallway as a strange blue energy pulses from his feet. Tormented, the young leader wonders what he must do to stop tragedy from happening again. Painful memories of the mission flood him, refusing to see his comrades in danger again. The thought that luck might not be on their side next time, and someone could die, terrifies him. Jean's deadly vow of revenge echoes in his mind, reminding him of the constant threat they face. A vision of violence shakes him, freezing him with fear at the thought of his friends, hurt again. Desperate, he clings to the idea that he has to do more, that he has to find the power to protect them. His anguish turns into a look of fierce determination, like he's found an answer. Suddenly, Desmond finds himself in a dark, unfamiliar room. Far from the hallway, the young leader looks around, completely disoriented, not knowing where he is, realizing he's somewhere he doesn't recognize, wondering if it's part of headquarters. A mysterious figure with a sinister smile slowly emerges from the shadows, welcoming him. Confessing they purposely lured him here, Desmond, startled, demands to know who his captor is. Before he can react, a fast force with red eyes lunges at him. Desmond's face twists in panic as he sees the attack coming. An invisible impact sends him flying while the ground erupts with energy. He lands hard, unable to avoid the painful hit against the floor. Still on the ground, Desmond sees an imposing figure approaching. Confused about what's happening, his eyes widen in surprise. Trying to identify his new opponent, a white-haired woman with a sinister smile appears. She reveals she knows about him and his power, flashing sharp fangs and a creepy welcome. The mysterious woman greets him, and terror grips Desmond. Feeling the threatening aura she radiates, he instinctively steps back. Realizing he's facing a top-tier threat, he doesn't hesitate to activate his evaluation skill. A blue light shines from his eyes as he analyzes the enigmatic figure. The evaluation results leave him completely stunned. Unable to believe what he sees, his fist clenches tightly. Overwhelmed by the shocking reveal, the evaluation shows monstrous stats, confirming he's up against an S-rank adventurer. Still on the ground, Desmond watches cautiously, trying to figure out who his attacker is. With a fang-filled smile, the woman introduces herself as a member of the organization Black Axilla. The revelation leaves Desmond frozen. His eyes wide with shock and fear, the mysterious woman points at him directly. Smiling, she declares her sole purpose is to eliminate him. The name Black Axilla echoes in Desmond's mind as he starts to grasp how serious this is. He recalls Jean's warning about this enemy organization. Targeting members of the Chevalier Garden, Desmond breaks into a cold sweat remembering the death threat. But he never imagined they'd act this fast. He spins around, impressed by the enemy's bold infiltration right into headquarters. The woman smiles confidently, confirming Desmond's worst fear. He's facing an S-rank enemy. Overwhelmed by the situation, Desmond grips his staff, determined to stop her no matter what. The woman mocks his resolve with a sinister smile, dismissing any plan he might have. The young leader reacts with surprise, realizing she's easily read his intentions. She launches her attack, unleashing her power and shattering Desmond's magical defense with insulting ease. Laughing arrogantly, she boasts about her overwhelming strength, claiming no strategy could beat her. The young leader tries to block the next blow with his staff, but the force is too much. His face twists in pain and shock as the attack's powerful energy wraps around him. The attacker watches from above as Desmond is violently slammed to the ground, completely overwhelmed, injured, and breathless. The young man struggles to stand, fighting to keep the battle going. His enemy taunts him, conjuring a fireball, reminding him his support magic is useless when he's trapped in a fire attack alone. Desmond desperately looks for a way out before it's too late. The fireball explodes with devastating force, engulfing the young leader completely. A violent blast of smoke and ash shakes the area, hiding the attack's outcome. Through the dust, a boot stomps firmly on the ground. Surrounded by a greenish energy aura, Desmond appears, injured but determined. He activates enchantment magic to boost his vitality. His enemy mocks him with a smile, amused that he used magic to strengthen himself. With disdain, she declares his effort pointless and says he has no chance to win. The young leader grits his teeth, acknowledging, deep down, the overwhelming power gap between them. Even knowing his stats aren't enough, his determination drives him to find a way to fight. The woman watches with a condescending smile, thinking he's a fool for his useless resistance. She raises a finger, channeling dark energy as she declares him disqualified. Terror flashes in Desmond's eyes as he realizes his end is near. The attacker unleashes a vortex of dark power, an overwhelming technique looming over the young man with a sadistic grin. She tells him his time is up. The young leader stares in disbelief, unable to react to the scale of the attack. The dark energy rushes at him, promising an inevitable, final fall. Trapped in the attack, Desmond resigns himself to his helplessness, wondering if this is really the end. Just as hope fades, his gaze catches an unexpected figure arriving. Suddenly, a sorceress appears amid the chaos. Surprised to find Desmond there, the young leader recognizes the newcomer as Dorothy, leaving his attacker stunned by the interruption. Desmond watches as the dark attack fades, realizing the attacker is his master. The energy orb becomes harmless, leaving the young leader totally baffled. The deadly magic turns into a harmless shower of confetti and petals falling around him. Completely confused, the young man can only watch the strange beauty of the scene. The white-haired woman praises her own beautiful magic, increasing Desmond's bewilderment. The young leader stares, trying to understand the sudden change in attitude and appearance. Striking a proud pose, the mysterious woman introduces herself as Rafim Nolan, Master Noah Rafim, revealing she's Dorothy's adoptive mother and a member of the Garden's 1st Brigade. An organizational chart confirms her high rank, leaving Desmond even more stunned. The young man's shock is so intense, his surprised shout seems to echo through headquarters. Desmond and Dorothy watch amazed as the illusionary space fades, revealing Rafim's true power. The young leader realizes the whole battlefield was an illusion created by Rafim's incredible magic. Dorothy scolds her master for the attack, but Rafim calmly says it was just a rough orientation. The word orientation leaves Desmond completely confused, unable to believe that was the point of such a brutal attack. Rafim reveals that Cynthia had told her about him, praising his promising skills as an enchanter. She explains she wanted to meet him because he's Dorothy's companion, but mocks him for looking like he was about to die. The young man, totally lost, asks her to clarify, not understanding the logic behind her actions. Rafim changes tone and asks him directly why he chose to face her instead of running away. The question catches Desmond off guard, leaving him speechless and unsure how to answer. She steps closer and scolds him, saying that by not running, knowing he had no chance, he proved to be a complete idiot. The young man tries to defend his choice, arguing he couldn't run and leave his friends behind. Rafim counters, explaining his sacrifice would have been pointless, since his friends would have fallen after him. With an authoritative gesture, she tells him the only sensible option was to escape and call for reinforcements. Desmond freezes at the harsh truth, realizing the flaw in his reasoning. The master clarifies with a mocking tone she wasn't talking about asking low-ranking members for help. She reminds him there are S-rank warriors in the garden, like herself, who he should have turned to. Cold sweat runs down Desmond's face as he grasps the magnitude of his mistake. Rafim tells him he's carrying a responsibility that's not his to bear. Blaming himself for everything, Dorothy joins in the reprimand, while Rafim warns that his stubbornness to fight alone won't save anyone. Frustrated, the master demands to know why he refuses to trust in the power of his allies. Her words echo in Desmond's mind, sparking a revelation in his eyes. The young leader tries to speak, but the words get stuck in his throat. Dorothy gently takes his hands, offering unconditional support in a tender gesture. She agrees with his master, reaffirming he shouldn't carry the whole burden alone. Sincerely, she asks him to share the mission's responsibility with the rest of the team, reminding him all his comrades feel the same, wishing they could have done more to help. The sorceress assures him that, just as he cares for them, they care deeply for him. Dorothy confesses they feel lonely and isolated when he refuses to trust their strength. Her words catch him off guard, moving him deeply. Overwhelmed by emotion, the young leader's eyes fill with tears as he understands the value of his bonds. He reproaches himself, admitting he didn't grasp the true meaning of having a team, tears in his eyes. He finally realizes he has many allies he can trust. As Dorothy comforts him, the weight on his heart lightens, freeing him from his self-imposed burden. Rafim watches the scene with a satisfied smile, pleased with the outcome of her lesson. Dorothy hugs her companion, while her master considers this tough moment an essential part of youth. The young leader reflects, acknowledging that although inexperienced, he now better understands his role in the clan. Rafim recalls Cynthia's glowing praise, noting her feelings for Desmond go beyond simple friendship. With a mischievous smile, the master plans to tell Cynthia about their encounter, anticipating her funny reaction. Just then, Cynthia appears at the door, unaware of what just happened. Rafim sneaks up to Cynthia, ready to set her little fun plan in motion. Cynthia arrives and misreads the scene, thinking Desmond is crying on another woman's chest. Rafim takes advantage of the confusion and whispers something to Cynthia, sparking her jealous rage. The master smiles smugly, delighting in the chaos she just caused. The misunderstanding casts a silent threat over the unsuspecting young leader. Totally embarrassed, Desmond tries to wipe away his tears and pull himself together. The young man apologizes to Dorothy, who reassures him with an understanding smile. Desmond admits he's embarrassed for crying on her, while Dorothy's glad he trusts them. His mind, however, fixates on the exact spot where he rested his head. The image of her comforting him plays over and over, making him blush even more. The poor leader is completely frozen with embarrassment. Unable to process what's happening, Desmond's mind just explodes. Torn between shame and a weird thought about his luck, his vision locks on a furious Cynthia blushing with anger, while Rafim enjoys the chaos behind her. Cynthia's eyes swirl with jealousy as she takes in the image of Desmond. Crying over another woman, Desmond panics, trying to explain the misunderstanding, but the words won't come out. Shame and anger take over Cynthia. Showing as a blush that consumes her, the scene shifts, introducing the Labyrinth Association that manages the adventurer. Inside the building, a man vents his fury against a wall, scaring his teammates. A red-haired woman tries to calm the raging warrior. A man named Adele blows up in anger, yelling that it's impossible to calm down after what happened. He shows why he's mad. Their B-rank team has been demoted to C-rank. The redhead woman resigns herself, admitting their streak of dungeon failures led them here. Nearby, other adventurers mock their misfortune. While Adele listens, his face twisted with rage, rumors spread like wildfire, revealing the team is banned. From entering B-rank dungeons, their rivals gloat, speculating they might soon drop to D-rank, mocking their glory days. The taunts grow louder, with other adventurers commenting on how humiliating it would be to be in their shoes. Adele's team sits isolated in the hall, feeling the weight of all the stares and whispers. The blonde warrior admits, with regret, that their past arrogance earned them a lot of hate. Bloodshot eyes, cursing those mocking them. Adele's rage boils over as he grabs an adventurer by the neck, starting a fight. His teammates jump in fast, trying to stop him, and warning violence will only make things worse. The adventurer Adele's holding mocks him, sarcastically questioning his grip strength. To his teammates' surprise, the man confirms Adele's attack is pathetically weak. The fight turns into a public humiliation, with others wondering if this team was ever strong. Despite his teammates' attempts to pull him back, Adele freezes, overwhelmed by shame and rage. A new rumor surfaces, mentioning the team's former enchanter was insanely skilled. The mention of their ex-member sparks anger and surprise on Adele's face. Gossip reveals Espada's fall coincided with the enchanter leaving, who now seems to have joined an elite clan. The hint that they were abandoned by their most valuable member pushes Adele's fury to the limit. Unable to take more humiliation, the team retreats under a rain of whispers and mocking stares. Sitting in silence, the three fallen team members reflect on their disaster. The redhead woman laments their lack of options, admitting they can't afford a new enchanter. She shows a wound, explaining their team is falling apart and dungeon failures keep piling up. Distressed, she realizes their debts are spiraling out of control and bankruptcy is near. The blonde warrior adds that another failure could cost him his adventurer licenses, sealing their fate. Adele, consumed by despair, bites his thumb in powerless rage. The young warrior's frustration grows, eating him up inside over the humiliating reality. His blonde teammate breaks the silence, saying the rumor they heard keeps bothering him. The woman confirms their suspicion. Their downfall started right when Desmond left. She adds it's not just bad luck on missions, but they also feel a strange heaviness in their bodies. Adele suddenly shivers, confessing they get tired faster and their bad luck seems to have worsened drastically. Adele reaches a terrible conclusion, bloodshot eyes identifying the culprit. His teammates look confused, not understanding his sudden revelation. The warrior slams the ground in fury, blaming Desmond for all their misfortunes. Convinced, Adele accuses his ex-teammate of cursing them to cause their downfall. His mind twists with violent thoughts, vowing to take the cruelest revenge on Desmond. The redhead woman tries to reason with him, doubting Desmond is really to blame. An outside voice mocks their pathetic situation as the team walks away humiliated. Adele's gaze burns with pure hatred, fully consumed by his thirst for revenge. Suddenly, footsteps approach, interrupting his moment of despair. A silver-haired young man appears with a bright smile, claiming to know about Desmond. The mysterious youth reveals he recently teamed up with Desmond in a dungeon, calling him the worst enchanter. With a creepy smile, the stranger says his identity doesn't matter and he just wants to help. Adele's team looks at him suspiciously, wondering why anyone would want to help them. Suddenly, a sharp, malicious look confirms his offer, making it clear his intentions aren't pure. His true motive comes out. He offers an infallible way to get revenge on Desmond. The scene shifts to a quiet, prosperous city. We see the Grand Bristol Library, an impressive building dedicated to knowledge. Inside, a studious atmosphere reigns among endless bookshelves. Among the scholars, Desmond is fully focused on his reading. He reflects on what he's learned, realizing the deep complexity of enchantment magic. He notices he's been blindly relying on his unique multiplication skill, but what hits him most is discovering a revolutionary method to use it. Desmond uncovers the technique of enchantment stacking, a revelation that leaves him stunned. He understands that unlike simple addition, his skill multiplies base power, creating exponential growth. The young enchanter smiles, calculating the insane potential value of this technique. He thinks this method goes beyond mere invincibility, opening a world of possibilities. However, his research shows this technique is banned and legally forbidden. Just as he wonders why, a mysterious hooded figure sneaks up behind him. The woman, whom he already knows as Cynthia, startles him with a greeting in the middle of his focus. Embarrassed, Desmond tries to hush her, drawing curious looks from others in the library. Cynthia explains that after finishing her mission, she decided to find him since she had free time. Actually, she came to playfully keep an eye on him. Hearing the kid was in the library, she approached with a smile, praising his admirable dedication to studying. Her closeness makes him nervous, and a pleasant scent completely distracts him. Cynthia, aware of her effect, gives him a mischievous, playful look. Overwhelmed by the proximity, Desmond blushes and feels totally cornered. The young enchanter, in a state of bliss, declares libraries are wonderful places. Cynthia's serene beauty captivates him, leaving him speechless. For a moment, he can't help but think how incredibly beautiful his companion is. He also reflects that her popularity is natural, being a strong and kind S-rank adventurer. Suddenly, Desmond realizes she's the center of attention in the quiet library. Murmurs spread as others recognize the famous S-rank adventurer, Cynthia. Feeling watched, they both decide it's time for a quick, discreet escape. The librarian tries to restore order but is shocked to see the legendary heroine in person. Everyone identifies her as the Iceblood Princess, a nickname that makes Cynthia blush with embarrassment. Confused by the title, Desmond looks at his companion, who seems like she wants to disappear. To speed up their escape, Cynthia grabs Desmond's wrist, dragging him urgently toward the exit. The gesture sparks a new wave of rumors, with everyone wondering who the young man with the princess is. The crowd jumps to a scandalous conclusion, speculating if he might be her lover, embarrassing them both. Completely overwhelmed, Cynthia insists on leaving, pulling along a stunned Desmond. Blushing and embarrassed, Cynthia drags Desmond with determined steps to flee the crowd. The young enchanter looks at her, totally baffled by the sudden chaotic escape. The heroine tries to hide her face under her hood, unable to mask her embarrassment. Together, they leave the library, Cynthia leading without letting go of his hand. The touch of her armored hand on his seals their unexpected closeness amid the chaos. Desmond can't help but blush hard, feeling his heart race from the gesture. Despite the shame, a small smile forms, enjoying the moment. Suddenly, Cynthia turns with a radiant smile, turning their tense escape into a magical moment. Safe outside, the warrior apologizes for the commotion she caused. She confesses she just wanted to see him, but ended up interrupting his important research. Desmond brushes it off, saying it's no bother and she can come back to the library any time. With a bright smile, he admits he was actually happier spending time with her. His sincere words move Cynthia, who looks at him with obvious tenderness. Suddenly, Desmond remembers the nickname Iceblood Princess. Leaving Cynthia totally embarrassed, she explains resignedly that S-rank adventurers often get nicknames whether they like it or not. Intrigued, Desmond mentions their other teammate Rafim is known as Crimson Madness. Cynthia reveals Rafim's nickname comes from her fierce, destructive impulses, which terrifies Desmond. The young man recalls his fight against Rafim, realizing she held back a lot. Desmond then wonders if Cynthia's title comes from her icy princess beauty. Hearing that, Cynthia gives him a charming, satisfied smile, clearly pleased by the compliment. The young enchanter expresses his wish to see Cynthia's power in battle someday. Suddenly, their teammates Rin and Garen come running, shouting Desmond's name in desperation. Desmond and Cynthia turn to face them, asking what caused the commotion. The news hits them like a lightning bolt. Their friend Dorothy has been kidnapped. The sunset sky adds urgency as they process the shocking revelation. Wasting no time, the group heads to headquarters for more info. Upon arrival, they meet Rafim, who demands an explanation for Dorothy's disappearance. Rafim says she sent Dorothy on an errand, but she never came back and her magical trail vanished. The leader deduces Dorothy was ambushed by someone who can hide their presence, alarming Desmond. Driven by worry, the young enchanter bolts off, determined to find his friend. A guard informs Rafim. The mercenary group has captured 2 suspects. The kidnappers demand to see Desmond in exchange for Dorothy's location. The young man is stunned, not understanding why the captors want him. Confused, Desmond wonders what he has to do with his friend's kidnapping. The revelation hits him. The 2 captives are members of his old Espada clan. Night falls as the group rushes to the place holding the prisoners. They arrive at the city prison, a grim place where they hope to get answers. One of his former teammates greets him with a cold glare and palpable resentment. From her cell, she blames him directly, saying his leaving caused the clan's ruin. His other ex-teammate reveals a mysterious man offered them a chance to get revenge on him. The ex-teammate says the man's name was Jean, a revelation that shocks Desmond. They confess Jean's plan was to kidnap Dorothy, the weakest link, to lure Desmond into a trap. They recall in fear how they tried to stop their leader Adel, but blinded by revenge, he ignored them. A flashback shows how their own clan brutally cast them out for opposing the plan. They were deliberately abandoned to serve as messengers, a final humiliation. They deliver the message. He must go alone to the Crystal Caves without any S-rank adventurer's help. The threat is clear. If he disobeys, Dorothy's life will be in grave danger. With a grim face, Desmond asks how much time he has to meet their demands. The answer is firm. Until dawn the next day to rescue her. The sun sets on the horizon, marking the start of a race against time to save his friend. Wasting no time, Desmond enters the ominous Crystal Caves. Inside, sharp stalactites and glowing crystals fill the cave. In a large cavern, the stage for the confrontation is set. A single firm step on the crystal floor announces the hero's arrival at the trap. Far off, on a ledge, his former teammates wait with Dorothy as hostage. Desmond and his group arrive, watching the terrible scene from below. Tied up on the ground, Dorothy sees her friends and her face lights up with a mix of relief and fear. The group reacts with anguish and anger as they confirm their friend's condition. Desmond's gaze fills with cold fury, ready to do whatever it takes. Finally, the young man confronts his former leader, Adele, the mastermind behind the kidnapping. Adele, furious, scolds Desmond for not coming alone, breaking their terms. Jean, with a sinister smile, downplays Desmond's companions, calling them weaklings. Outraged, Desmond demands an explanation from Adele, insisting they could have solved this by talking. Rage consumes Adele, who responds with a scream full of deep resentment. The ex-leader blames Desmond for ruining them with a supposed curse that stained their reputation. Completely baffled, Desmond listens as Adele pins the clan's downfall on him. From below, the young man firmly denies the accusations, not understanding what curse he's talking about. Jean mocks Adele, calling him pathetic for blaming others for his own failure and bitterness. Garen, full of rage, steps in defending Adele's supposed right to seek revenge. Rin, losing patience, demands to know who the mysterious man is and calls for Dorothy's immediate release. Garen, defiant, claims that with Desmond's enchantments, they're more than capable of beating them. Jean replies with a malicious grin, clearly amused by their naive confidence. The mysterious man reveals their organization is all about looting and weird experiments. Jin pulls out a syringe filled with red liquid, a product of their sinister experiments. In a shocking twist, Jin injects the substance into an unsuspecting Adele's neck from below. Desmond and his friends watch the scene, frozen in horror. Adele, confused and in pain, demands an explanation from Jean for the sudden betrayal. Jean cruelly mocks him, revealing he was just using Adele for his own ends. Adele's body begins to mutate horribly. His arm turns into a monstrous claw, racked with pain. The ex-leader screams as the grotesque transformation takes over him. Adele's transformation continues. His mouth twists into monstrous jaws. The group screams in horror at the agonized howls of their former leader. Rin watches the scene, her face a mask of pure panic. A gut-wrenching scream echoes through the cave, marking the mutation's climax. Shin smiles maliciously, revealing his plan to let the weak destroy each other. Adele's hand, now a grotesque claw, clutches the crystalline ground, the ex-leader fully transformed. He keeps screaming, consumed by unbearable pain. From below, Desmond sees the creature Adele has become. It seems to beg for help before collapsing, the creature's eyes bloodshot. Filled with wild, animalistic rage, Desmond's face reflects the horror of the situation, preparing for the inevitable in his last moments of awareness. Adele murmurs a desperate plea for help. Desmond shouts his former leader's name. Watching the chaos unfold, a burst of reddish energy erupts from Adele's body. Completing the terrifying metamorphosis, the young man covers his face. Overwhelmed by the shockwave and the terrible sight, his gaze hardens, accepting the harsh reality he must face. It's all reflected in his eyes. Covered in tough gray scales, the transformation ends, revealing a towering dragon crying blood from the pain. Desmond freezes in disbelief at the monstrous creature before him. The beast, with its many red eyes, shows no trace of Adele's humanity. Rina, terrified, can't believe the size of the creature standing before them. Desmond's face twists in pure panic as he realizes the threat's magnitude. Desperate, the young man yells at his friends to run while they still can. The beast unleashes a roar that shakes the cave to its core. The cave ceiling starts collapsing, raining down rocks and sharp crystals. Huge chunks of the cave fall on the group, who try to dodge but fail. Desmond is knocked down by the shockwave. Struggling to stand amid the chaos, he horrifies as he sees his friends buried under rubble. Rina lies unconscious on the ground, injured by falling rocks. Next to her, Garen is also knocked out, completely defenseless against the danger. Desperate, Desmond screams toward his fallen friends, fearing for their lives. Suddenly, he senses the beast's ominous presence behind him, stalking him. Panic takes over his face as he realizes he's now completely alone against the monster. Swallowing hard, unable to accept that where Adele once stood is now a nightmare creature. With new resolve, his eye glows blue as he activates his appraisal eye ability. A status window reveals the beast's identity. Its name is Adele and its race is a Hydra. Disbelief hits him hard, confirming his former leader turned into a mythological creature. The info is clear. The monstrous Hydra before him is, without a doubt, Adele. The beast roars furiously, confirming the unthinkable transformation from human to monster. Desmond grits his teeth. Consumed by rage at such a cruel, heartless act, he's horrified to see the beast's stats are insanely high. He realizes the creature's power ranks A+, a force even his enchantments can't match. Through the dust, a familiar figure rises. Dorothy, the elf who'd been captured. Desmond approaches her and she explains the collapse broke her bonds, letting her escape. Suddenly, the young man senses an imminent attack and throws himself to shield Dorothy with his body. The Hydra's monstrous tail slams violently into the ground where they stood seconds before. Terrified, Desmond realizes the group has regrouped, but the danger is bigger than ever. With the exit blocked by rubble, the young man reaches a grim conclusion. They must defeat the beast to survive. Rin bravely offers herself as bait and asks Desmond to boost her abilities for the fight. But he rejects the idea, knowing even with magic they couldn't reach the power needed to beat the Hydra. Desperate, Rin demands Desmond tell her his plan now that he's refused hers. The young man's face hardens, showing dark, absolute determination. Calm but unsettling, Desmond reveals there's only one way left to go. His companions look surprised, not understanding what he means. The young mage reveals his trump card, layered enchantment technique. Dorothy and Rin react in horror. The elf knows that technique is forbidden. Both try to stop him, warning it's the biggest taboo among mages. Desmond insists that despite the risk, it's their only chance to survive. He explains the technique lets him stack the same spell to multiply its power without limits. Rin gets excited by the idea, but Desmond clarifies he'll be the one taking the hit. The technique has a terrible side effect. The young warrior is stunned. Hearing the warning about the dangerous spell, the elf explains that the user's body destroys itself when the enchantment ends, with potentially fatal consequences. Desperate, Dorothy begs Desmond to stop, reminding him why it's forbidden. Ignoring her pleas, the young man extends his hand, determined to use the mage's taboo, seeing his resolve. Desmond starts explaining his personal connection to the creature. The mage reveals the beast is Adele, a former teammate. A memory shows that their relationship was rocky and ended badly. Desmond admits with regret. He feels partly responsible for his ex-leader's monstrous transformation. With a firm look, he insists facing him is his responsibility and asks them to let him act. Dorothy watches Desmond moved, understanding the depth of his pain. The young mage walks away from his companions, resolutely heading toward the beast. He stands alone before the monstrous creature, ready for the showdown. The Hydra greets him with a deafening roar, its eyes glowing crimson with fury. A memory shows that with his new group, he finally understood the true meaning of camaraderie. Full of regret, he admits he should have communicated better with his old team. The beast responds angrily, as if regretting not being harsher in the past. From Adele's perspective, it's revealed he also felt abandoned by a group that depended on Desmond. The creature roars, expressing that in the end, he abandoned them too. Just as he prepares to act, a hand grabs him firmly by the back, stopping him. Desmond yells at the beast, insisting it's time to settle their unfinished business, his voice breaking with regret. He vows to fix the mistakes of the past. The creature seems to react to his words as Desmond swears to make things right. In response, the Hydra gathers a dark purple energy in its jaws, ready to strike. The beast unleashes a devastating blast of dark energy straight at the young mage. Desmond stands firm, facing the massive attack alone, which threatens to annihilate him. With an unbreakable gaze, the young man prepares his own spell, his staff glowing with protective light. The Hydra's attack hits an invisible barrier, causing a colossal explosion of power. Through the smoke of the clash, a notification shows Desmond has used his enchantment magic. A status window reveals he's boosted his strength, vitality, agility, and endurance. The young mage doesn't stop and applies a second layer of enchantment on himself. A notification confirms the spells for strength, vitality, agility, and endurance have doubled. Unsatisfied, Desmond pushes the forbidden technique's limits and adds a third layer of power. Showing no signs of stopping, the mage stacks a fourth layer, multiplying his abilities exponentially. His original status window shows his humble base stats before the dangerous ritual. The numbers on his profile start to warp and skyrocket at a dizzying speed. His stats hit absurd numbers, surpassing 10 million in an instant. Overwhelming energy radiates from his body and with a single step, cracks the ground beneath him. His new state reveals colossal power, with stats rivaling a god's. With defiant fury, Desmond yells at the beast, ready to start the final battle against Adele. The Hydra lunges, its jaws ready to tear its opponent apart. The beast watches Desmond with its many crimson eyes, recognizing the immense power now radiating from him, wrapped in a golden aura. The young mage faces it with unshakable determination. Without hesitation, the creature pounces, determined to end the fight with one bite. The beast's massive jaws close over the mage, threatening to devour him whole. But instead of being crushed, a flash of power stops the brutal bite cold. From afar, his companions watch the scene in panic, fearing the worst for their friend. With superhuman strength, Desmond's hand grabs one of the beast's fangs. The young mage stops the creature's jaws with his own hands, showing off his incredible power. With a single move, Desmond throws the colossal Hydra violently to the side. With visible effort, Desmond channels his overwhelming power. Gritting his teeth, the young mage roars with fury, unleashing all the energy in his body. His golden aura explodes, shattering the ground around him as he prepares to strike. The Hydra, stunned by the show of strength, roars with a mix of surprise and pain. Without giving it time to react, Desmond charges at the beast's massive body. He moves at blinding speed, darting across the battlefield like a golden lightning bolt. His gaze locks on his target, analyzing the exact spot to land the next hit. The mage focuses his power in his fist, crackling with devastating energy. With unstoppable force, he strikes the creature's side directly. The beast writhes from the impact, taking heavy damage from the powerful blow. His companions watch in disbelief, unable to grasp the feat they just witnessed. Enraged, the Hydra counters with a torrent of dark energy from its jaws, but Desmond meets it with a cold stare, his resolve stronger than ever. The beast switches tactics and slashes brutally, aiming to crush him mercilessly. The young mage stands his ground. Enduring the blow that kicks up a cloud of dust and debris with defiant calm, he prepares to strike back. His golden aura burns intensely. His hand blocks the creature's massive claw dead in its tracks. Gritting his teeth, the mage resists the beast's overwhelming strength. His energy crackles around his hand, struggling for control against the monstrous claw. Planting his stance, Desmond cracks the ground beneath his feet, ready to unleash his power. With a battle cry, Desmond releases a burst of golden power. Using his immense strength, he lifts the giant hydra above his head. His teammates watch, totally stunned by the incredible feat. With one swift move, he hurls the colossal beast through the air, sending it flying across the battlefield. The young mage catches his breath, his determination still burning after the show of strength. From afar, the group can't believe the hydra was taken down so easily. The creature roars in pure fury, its crimson eyes burning with hatred after the humiliation. Landing, the beast faces Desmond again, opening its jaws to counterattack. The hydra's body starts to swell and twist, surrounded by a sinister dark energy. His friends sense the situation just got way more dangerous. Suddenly, the hydra unleashes its most devastating attack, a tail swipe meant to annihilate its opponent. The impact is so brutal it shakes the entire cave, kicking up a cloud of dust. While his teammates worry, the blonde elf smiles, fully trusting Desmond's power. A thick cloud of dust and debris hides the result of the violent clash. The beast eyes the crater it created, searching for its enemy's remains. Its many crimson eyes gleam with triumphant malice, thinking it's won. But Desmond emerges unscathed, launching himself through the air straight at the creature's head with a furious yell. Ready to deliver the finishing blow, the hydra's eye widens. Reflecting terror as it sees the mage about to strike, Desmond's fist bursts into a golden flash. Hitting the hydra's head dead on, the beast's silhouette roars silently. As the energy from the blow consumes its head, the creature's body twists through the air. Completely destabilized by the final attack, the hydra crashes to the ground. Its head slams down with a force that leaves it motionless in the distance. His companions stare at the beast's lifeless body, shocked by the victory. The young mage lands, his golden aura fading away. Catching his breath after the battle, the group can't believe what they're seeing, wondering if he really managed to defeat it, but the hydra's body begins to glow with a purple light, signaling the danger isn't over. The blonde elf screams in surprise, realizing the situation just took a wild turn. Desmond, however, winks at the new threat with unshakable confidence. The purple light explodes, revealing the hydra wasn't what it seemed. From the beast's remains emerges a dark, threatening humanoid silhouette. Its monstrous claws dig into the ground, showing its true, terrifying nature as the creature's form reverses. Transforming back into a human body, where the hydra once lay is now a gray-haired man, unconscious on the ground. His companions realize that Desmond has returned to normal, his power no longer visible. The young mage looks at the defeated man, the real enemy hiding behind the beast. With a surprised expression, Desmond seems to recognize the fallen man at his feet. From afar, the rest of the group processes the victory, relieved but still amazed. Their gaze fixed on the mysterious adversary. The defeated man murmurs about a complete victory before passing out. Desmond smirks confidently, his golden aura still crackling around him. Suddenly, an ominous feeling runs through his body, like something's breaking inside. His hand starts trembling uncontrollably, a sign that something's seriously wrong. He loses balance as his legs refuse to respond, shaking violently. The young mage realizes in horror he's suffering side effects from his power. His companions watch helplessly, panic on their faces, seeing his condition. A scream of agony escapes his lips as unbearable pain consumes him. A series of notifications detail the devastating injuries his body is enduring. Despite the torment, he stays standing, facing the consequences with unbreakable will. The pain grows so intense his face twists in pure agony. Finally, his body gives out and he collapses violently to the ground before his stunned friends. Panic grips the group, unsure how to help their fallen comrade. Lying on the ground, Desmond's consciousness begins to fade from the immense damage. With his last strength, he realizes paralysis has completely taken over his body. He feels every fiber of his being tearing apart, paying the price for pushing past his limits. Suddenly, a burst of ice crystals appears out of nowhere, breaking the tense scene. The group turns alarmed, surprised by the sudden display of new power. The gray-haired man rises, shouting Desmond's name with uncontrolled fury. He accuses Desmond of betrayal and trying to kill him, revealing a past connection. The gray-haired man lashes out, but the blonde girl responds angrily, calling him the worst adventurer. The dark-haired elf trembles with rage, silently wishing the worst fate on their enemy. Fed up with the shouting, the man demands they shut up. His patience at its limit, the blonde girl and the dwarf stand, stunned by the man's sudden outburst of rage. The young blonde scolds the elf, unable to believe her cruelty and lack of empathy toward Desmond. Through tears, the elf explains that Desmond could have used enchantments instead of risking his life. The gray-haired man listens closely, his expression shifting as he processes the new info. The elf reveals that stacking Enchantments is a forbidden technique that destroys the user's body. With a broken voice, the blonde girl insists Desmond had no need to face him directly. She explains he could have easily defeated him from a distance, making him collapse from his own power. The elf shouts that this technique isn't just dangerous, it's illegal. Through tears, she recalls begging Desmond to stop, revealing he understood and didn't use his power against the man. The gray-haired man is stunned as he realizes that Desmond chose to sacrifice himself instead of destroying him. She explains Desmond faced him directly because he was trying to help him like a true comrade. She accuses him that his inability to understand Desmond's nobility is what led to his exile. The adversary processes the shocking truth: the young man he betrayed was a valuable ally. His gaze reveals deep shock as he realizes the terrible mistake he made. The desperate elf begs him not to make Desmond suffer anymore, who's now defenseless on the ground. Desmond's gaze drifts, barely aware of the drama unfolding around him. Suddenly, an unknown figure appears, watching from above the group and their fallen comrade. The newcomer flicks his tongue, considering the whole situation a waste of time. The group stares in shock as he mocks their melodrama, calling it nonsense. The blonde girl suddenly has a revelation, her eyes wide with surprise and a sly smile. The silver-haired man surrounds himself with crackling energy, drawing his short sword, ready to finish them off without hesitation. His face twists in a sneer, confident it won't cost him a thing to defeat them. He unleashes a devastating wave of purple energy straight at Desmond's friends. The attack's impact sends the whole group flying, scattering them violently. From the ground, Desmond watches helplessly and furious as his friends are attacked. The mysterious assailant approaches Desmond, declaring his end has come. The silver-haired attacker gloats, ordering Desmond to crawl and die. An overwhelming column of purple energy descends on the defenseless Desmond. Terrified, the young mage can only watch as his end draws near. His eyes open wide in desperation, refusing to accept what's about to happen. Suddenly, a hand intervenes, an unexpected gesture to stop the disaster. The gray-haired man throws himself in front of Desmond, taking the full impact of the attack. Desmond looks on stunned, unable to understand why his former leader is protecting him. The attacker fumes seeing his deadly blow intercepted, his expression shifting to total disbelief at this turn of events. Desmond's former adversary now becomes his shield, enduring the brutal attack. Desmond watches in disbelief, unable to grasp why his old leader sacrificed himself for him. The gray-haired man grits his teeth, holding on with all his might against the devastating power of the attack. The desperate young mage shouts his protector's name, watching the scene in horror. The force of the impact is so brutal it cracks the ground beneath the man's feet as he resists. Finally, the energy consumes him and throws him through the air, leaving him gravely wounded on the ground. Confusion and anguish overwhelm Desmond, who demands an explanation for such a sacrifice. Crawling toward him, the young mage keeps asking why he protected him. After everything that happened, with his last strength, the wounded man asks for silence, his face covered in blood. Desmond stops, looking at his former captain, who, dying before him with a resigned smile, reveals that true comrades protect each other even if it means sacrifice. Desmond lies on the ground, absorbing his former captain's last words. Tears well up in his eyes as he whispers the name of the man who sacrificed himself for him. Mercilessly, the attacker kicks Adele's dying body, showing absolute contempt. The impact is brutal, and the gray-haired man spits blood, his life fading, filled with powerless rage. Desmond yells at the attacker to stay away from his fallen comrade. The silver-haired man mocks him, pretending not to hear with a condescending smile and a look of pure malice. He declares he has no intention of listening to the pleas of a dead man. Desmond grits his teeth, his face a mix of anger and despair at his own helplessness. Out of nowhere, a powerful burst of blue energy shoots straight at the villain. The attacker is left speechless, completely shocked by the sudden intervention. Two mysterious figures arrive on the scene, congratulating Desmond on his effort. They reveal themselves as two warriors, one in armor and the other with a sinister smile, ready to take control. From the ground, Desmond recognizes the newcomers. The attacker grits his teeth, realizing he's facing warriors of immense power. Frustrated, he pulls out a syringe with red liquid, regretting not acting before they arrived. Facing the warriors' impassive stares, the villain orders them not to move. Desperate, he grabs Desmond and threatens him with a lethal injection, using him as a hostage. The syringe needle dangerously grazes the young mage's neck, about to inject the substance. With a crazed laugh, he boasts he can end Desmond's life in an instant. Suddenly, blue energy spikes pierce the villain, brutally interrupting his threat. The villain looks in disbelief, feeling the pain of the surprise attack. He gasps as he watches the energy spikes piercing his body. At that moment, he has a revelation and understands the truth about one of the warriors. He remembers the warrior's nickname isn't about her beauty, but something far more terrifying. The blue energy crackles intensely, completely immobilizing the silver-haired man. The attacker writhes in pain, unable to break free from the power trapping him. The armored warrior subdues him effortlessly, her imposing figure dominating the scene with a cold glare. The warrior orders him to shut up, showing absolute contempt. The villain is crushed to the ground, defeated by the warrior's overwhelming strength. Desmond finally understands the warrior's nickname comes from her ruthless, icy cruelty in battle. The armored warrior watches the scene with a cold gaze, proving why they call her the Iceblood Princess. Her companion mocks the defeated villain, declaring he's beyond saving. The armored warrior scolds her carefree attitude and orders her to tend to the wounded immediately. She kneels beside Desmond, worried about his condition, while he asks if it's all over. The young mage bitterly reveals that his wounds are side effects of his own power and healing is useless. Desperate, he laments that his adventuring career is over, breaking a childhood promise. The scene shifts to an imposing castle, marking the end of the revenge storm. Inside the castle, a silent hallway leads to the recovery area. A sign on a door confirms Desmond has been taken to the infirmary. Though the battle's over, the young mage's new, painful chapter is just starting. The castle hallway leads to the recovery area, calm after the storm. A sign on the door confirms Desmond's in the infirmary, starting his recovery. Overwhelmed by the attention, the young mage blushes as his companions try to feed him. Surrounded by the warriors, Desmond insists he can take care of himself, feeling oddly familiar with the situation. Suddenly, his old guildmates burst into the room, eager to take care of him with overflowing enthusiasm. Seeing everyone gathered, the young mage asks about his comrade's recovery. One old friend recalls rumors about Desmond's terrible condition and the impossibility of his healing. But the adventurer's expression shifts, hinting the story didn't end as expected. It's revealed the side effects were cancelled out by a miracle, a sacrifice from the commander who absorbed the damage. With a somber face, Desmond admits his guilt, explaining the commander sacrificed himself to save him. The commander smiles, telling him not to blame himself but see it as an act done for his own good. He explains it's a leader's duty to protect their subordinates, and his adventuring days were already over. One companion sighs, moved by the commander's nobility. Desmond worries, saying the commander's condition will affect his daily life and reminds them he used a forbidden technique. His companions remind him he was forgiven for using it since it was self-defense. The commander reassures him again, insisting he not worry about the problems he thinks he caused. He reveals the higher-ups decided it was more valuable for Desmond to be healthy than a nearly retired man like him. Proudly, he says it's an honor for a veteran to risk himself for a young, promising talent. Suddenly, Desmond changes tone, revealing the commander's condition isn't incurable. He explains the dungeon they're exploring still holds treasures and unknown items that might hold the key to his recovery. He mentions there could be a legendary treasure in the dungeon capable of curing any physical ailment. The commander smiles slyly, saying it makes sense, such an item would be there. He tasks Desmond with a new mission, find that item as proof of their teamwork. Clenching his fist, the young mage accepts the challenge, filled with new determination. His eyes shine with resolve as he solemnly promises to keep his word. His companions, excited, join the cause, ready to help in the search. From his bed, the commander tells Desmond he has an important, urgent mission. The scene shifts to a large guild hall, buzzing with growing murmurs among the crowd. A crowd of adventurers has gathered, all waiting for an imminent announcement. Rumors spread about the commander's hospitalization and the uncertain future of his brigade. An authoritative voice from the balcony demands silence from the restless adventurers. An officer confirms the commander's hospitalization and announces a new mission and leadership change. Footsteps echo on the balcony, raising tension before the big announcement. To everyone's surprise, Desmond is named interim commander of the 5th Brigade. Overwhelmed by the attention, Desmond nervously addresses the crowd, unsure how to start his speech despite his insecurity. He admits his faults but shows determination to lead them. Just as he braces for the worst, a supportive voice interrupts him. Assuring him no one has complaints, his old guildmates cheer enthusiastically. They promise loyalty and to silence any detractors. Moved by their trust, Desmond stands taller, ready to take on his role. With tears in his eyes, Desmond accepts his new duty, promising to give his all in his new position. The young mage leaves the hall to start his first mission as leader. His old friends send him off with excitement, celebrating his promotion and ready to follow him. Meanwhile, the two warriors spy from a corner, planning to join the next adventure. The icy-blooded princess, blushing, admits she wants to go. While her companion teases her unexpected shyness, a bandaged hand bids Desmond and his group farewell, wishing them luck on their journey. On the street, an adventurer flirts shamelessly with Desmond, sparking jealousy in her friend. The young mage is surprised by the sudden fight between the two girls over his attention. He turns toward a window, where he sees the commander lying in his hospital bed. The image of the weakened commander, hooked up to breathing assistance, reminds him of the urgency of his mission. Despite his condition, the commander waves him off with a confident gesture. Confident in his success, Desmond returns the salute with a bright smile. Filled with new hope and renewed spirit, the group sets off, leaving the guild behind. From the window, the commander watches their departure with a satisfied smile. The scene shifts to a lush forest, under a clear sky, the destination of their journey. Finally, the team arrives at the imposing dark dungeon entrance. Taking on his leader role, Desmond prepares to guide his team inside the cave. Driven by excitement, one warrior steps forward, ignoring her companion's warnings. The story flashes back to an earlier moment, showing a mysterious silver-haired young man already badly injured. A close-up reveals the young man's face, unconscious and badly wounded after a devastating battle. A mysterious woman approaches the injured youth, scolding him for his recklessness. From her hand flows powerful healing magic, enveloping the young man in a green aura. She unleashes a large-scale healing spell, a life force covering him completely. The young man coughs, reacting to the flood of magic. As his wounds slowly close, he opens his eyes, the healing light reflecting in his gaze as he regains consciousness. Floating in the air, he swears angrily. He won't forgive the woman who left him in that state. The scene shifts to a green-haired woman who asks with a superior air if he found anyone useful. Clenching his fist in rage, the silver-haired young man confirms he found the person he was looking for. His target is none other than Desmond Stiv, a mage who uses unique enchantment magic. A malicious look with a purple gleam reveals a sinister plan brewing in the shadows. A horrible memory haunts the young man, showing how he was brutally attacked with strange red magic.